No pressure. Camera right in the face.
Okay. Mayor Grimes?
You ready? Ready on the left?
Yes.
Ready on the right? Ready on the
You guys ready? Yep.
We're looking at your shoes, how polished. Sitting in the front row.
Call the meeting to order at this time. Roll call.
Mayor Grimes?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wiggins?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Wallstrom?
Here.
And Councilmember Heckey?
Here.
Everybody's here, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is Gerald Fair here?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to have the invocation. Gerald Fair from the Calvary Chapel Church will be giving the invocation. And then after that, we're going to have the pledge to the flag, and Dennis Wallstrom, council member, will lead us in that.
Let's pray. Father, thank you, Lord, for this night. Lord, thank you for this council. Lord, thank you for this great community, Lord, and all the civil servants. Lord, we ask now for your wisdom, Lord, for your discernment, Lord, that you would lead us. And thank you for this opportunity for us to serve, Lord. And so bless all that goes on here. We thank you again for your mercy and for your grace. So bless this meeting now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next order of business is the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions, if comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before action is taken. At this time, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to have anything removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, council?
Mr. Mayor, item number 12 and item number 16, please.
Item number 12 and item number 16. Okay, anything else? Do I have a motion with those corrections?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the item as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I need to take a roll call vote, don't I, or not? Okay. Let the record show that 5 ayes on the approval. Our next item of business is the audience oral and written communications, public comments. The City Council welcomes public comments on any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Council. We respectfully request that this public forum be utilized in a positive and constructive manner. Persons addressing the Council should first state their name and area of residence, the matter of city business to be discussed, and the organization or persons represented, if any. Please take into consideration that your comments are limited to 3 minutes. At this time, is there anybody in the public sector that wishes to make a public comment?
Good evening, Mayor Grimes and the City Council. I'm Kim Nixon. I live in the city, and I'm here tonight representing the Tehachapi Police Foundation. I brought invitations for you, and I wanted to personally invite each of you to attend the 2nd annual Honoring the Thin Blue Line banquet that will be held on May 17th out at the Rose Garden Estate. This is the time of year that the foundation hosts the banquet to recognize the Tehachapi Police Officer of the Year, the Tehachapi Police Volunteer of the Year, the Tehachapi Police Explorer of the Year, and then the Civilian Employee of the Year. So I know last year several of you were able to attend, but I would hope this year that making the invitation available 8 weeks in advance would give opportunity for all of the council to be there to show their support for our first responders and those who volunteer and give their time to protect the residents of the city of Tehachapi. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Just a great organization.
Yep.
Thank you. And the proceeds this year will go to benefit the Jacob Langston Memorial Scholarship Fund, and to also work to purchase equipment and that's needed for the explorers and things like that, as Chief brings those needs to the foundation. So we look forward to having a really good turnout and a great evening honoring some people that are well deserving of recognition. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay.
Good evening. Bill Fisher, city resident and also operations manager at Tehachapi Valley Recreation and Park District. The past several weeks we've been having some issues over at Central Park with some vandalism, graffiti taking place. And I'd like to thank the Tehachapi Police Department. Last week I observed the vandals, in my opinion, doing some vandalism over there. I called the 822-2222 dispatch number, and I would say probably in less than 90 seconds they arrived on the scene. While they didn't catch them red-handed, I will tell you it has stopped at this point. So it was happening almost every day. I had a great conversation with your resource officer, but again, I'd like to thank your dispatch, all your officers. They did a great job, so thank you very much.
Any other public comments at this time? Seeing none, let's move on. Item number 2, a letter from Ida Perkins, the president of the Greater Tehachapi Chamber of Commerce, regarding the 2018 Gold Chairman Circle membership.
Good morning, Mayor Grimes, or good afternoon, Mayor Grimes and City Council. I apologize for not getting here sooner. I wanted the opportunity to talk about the city's Chairman Circle membership with the Chamber in relationship to some comments that were made at the February 5th council meeting from Councilmember Hepke and Councilmember Wallstrom. So I thank you for this opportunity. The Chairman Circle membership is about partnerships. Our partnership with the city ensures that we continue to grow our business community and provide services and resources not only to the business community, but to our residents and our visitors. Did you know that the Chamber answered over 6,400 phone calls, assisted over 7,000 visitors, and handed out over 1,500 information packets in 2017, which actually was a record for our office. We serve as, in many capacities, one being Tehachapi's directory assistants, fielding numerous calls for numbers of services. Some of these services, if there were no chamber, would fall on the responsibility of city staff, which we believe at a much higher cost. The Chairman Circle also includes sponsorships for our events, including the Tehachapi Mountain Festival, which is the largest event that takes place in Tehachapi, bringing thousands of dollars to the city in sales tax and transit occupancy tax revenue. Also, our Fall Business Showcase, which provides an opportunity for local businesses to showcase their goods and services to our community. The Chairman's Circle membership also ensures that the city is represented in everything the Chamber does, from our monthly luncheons, our website, our business referral guide, to our newsletter, and much more, which is valued if a member paid for this stuff individually at over $5,500. The Chamber currently has 11 Chairman Circle members of varying levels, consisting of large and small businesses alike, which see the outstanding value in such partnerships. Partnerships throughout our community are a foundation of what makes Tehachapi a great place to work and raise a family. In closing, I would like to invite Council members Hepke and Wallstrom to attend some of our functions like our luncheons and our ribbon cuttings so that you can see our work in action. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, item number 3, the Tehachapi Valley Recreation and Parks District Revitalization and Future Recreation Facilities Business Plan.
Good evening, Mayor Grimes, council members, and staff. Thank you for taking time to have us on your agenda this evening. My name is Laura Lynn Wyatt. I'm the board president for Tehachapi Valley Recreation and Parks District. In 2013, TVRPD completed a comprehensive master plan with the assistance from the community. We held workshops, we had a booth at the farmers market weekly, we walked events such as the chili cook-off with clipboards, asking what types of recreational facilities people wanted to see in our community. The key outcome from the master plan process provided us with evidence that our existing facilities and services are very important to the community. They are well valued and well utilized. However, most are old and in need of updating or remodeling. With our limited resources, TVRPD has been able to accomplish a small part of the participants' desires. With the improvement phase 1 of the new Meadowbrook Park, and thanks to partners like Aspen Builders, we have a new and improved Aspen Builders Activity Center, which was previously the West Park Activity Center. That's just to name a few things that we've been able to accomplish. Participants in our workshops and surveys also spoke of the need of more variety in the sports facilities, open space, a community event center, mini golf, motocross, bowling alley, and more. They got very excited. If you follow social media, you know that over the past few weeks we've placed out feelers to the community on several local pages such as Tehachapi Ask. This was just to test the waters again and reassure ourselves that this was still on the residents' minds, it was still what they wanted from us, and the results were overwhelmingly positive. A new multi-use building would be a critical asset to the entire community. Many studies show access to quality recreational facilities is a high priority when families are choosing a place to call home. Good facilities reduce stress, reduce crime, increase property values, and promote healthy, long living, wonderful communities. Let's dream for a moment. A new aquatic center with a regulation lap pool to hold swim meets and swim lessons. A lazy river for relaxing in the afternoons or holding classes for stress-free muscle workouts walking against the current of the lazy river. Low impact exercise is in high demand with our senior citizens. A kiddie pool with a splash area for families to hold birthday parties or just escape the summer warm days. A rock climbing wall, a yoga studio, an indoor running track. A juice or coffee bar with a Wi-Fi hotspots where students can hang out, do their homework, work on class projects together, or maybe we could hold some computer classes there in the evenings, teach people some basics. A game of chess or bocce ball in a courtyard, meeting rooms that can hold hundreds of people with commercial kitchens, receptions, conferences, company trainings, maybe a cooking class or more. Our goal would definitely be a multi-use building for all ages, abilities, and interests. So now we've established a few things, haven't we? The residents of the greater Tehachapi area want new and improved facilities, and Tehachapi Valley Recreation and Parks District has a dream. So how do we get there? The first step is to put together a complete business plan. This will answer questions like, how much of the dream can we realistically afford to do? Most important, how do we make sure that we can keep these facilities maintained? At the February board meeting, our board of directors approved staff to explore the feasibility of constructing a new aquatics recreation conference center, as well as revitalizing our existing facilities. We are here tonight to ask the City Council to invest $15,000 towards the cost of that business plan. Tehachapi Valley Recreation and Parks District has a qualified board and staff in place, and we're ready to move forward to Tehachapi's future. Thank you for your consideration of this request. And at this time, our General Manager, Michelle Vance, has a visual presentation for you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you. These are our residents and our users of our facilities. My name is Michelle Vance. I'm the General Manager of the Tehachapi Valley Recreation and Park District, and today I'm going to talk to you about our Aquatics Recreation Conference Center Revitalization Plan. Just kind of give you a quick snapshot about our district and who we serve and how many people we serve with the little money we receive. We have four parks, four major parks, Central, Meadowbrook, West, and Bright Lake. We have 8 full-time employees, 60 seasonal employees, which consists of mostly our high school kids. We are their first job. We are training people to go to college. Many people in this room, their children work for us or have worked for us in the past. We have 26 programs for youth and 24 programs for adults and about 150 volunteers. And now that we've taken over the Grand Fondo, we'll have probably 400 volunteers because that event is giant. Just look at our boundaries though. We're about 500 square miles. We serve the entire community, not just the city where many of our facilities are. We serve everyone and people from out of town. I mean, if you think about Mountain Festival or other giant events that happen at Central Park. But also we do a lot with very little. We receive about $873,000 a year in property tax, but what that equates to is about $17 per year per 100,000 valuation. So the average person, the house in Tehachapi is around $250,000. And so we collect maybe $40 a year from our residents, which isn't very much money. That's per house, not per person, per property. But also we do this without any funds from Stallion Springs or Bear Valley, so they are not in our district. But we still serve them. They participate in our programs, they still visit our parks. Right now, Little League is full of a bunch of kids from all over the place, but we don't discriminate. Our parks are open to everybody. Also, we have major fiscal impacts on the community. We increase property values. There's always this saying, you know, parks are the window of your community. Every time a person or any homes that are near a park or recreation facility, they're valued at actually higher sale prices because they're walkable. And so that's what people want nowadays. Also, we have very positive, healthy impacts on the community. More people that participate in recreation are less likely to be obese. And then also people who live near park facilities are actually more active. But we also partner with many businesses and organizations, and we could not do this. This year we brought in over $45,000 in investment just from our community partners. That doesn't include the $52,000 from Grand Fondo. So I think we really have partnered with a lot of companies, but we still can't do it just by them alone. We need our residents to participate. But I want to talk about another economic impact and our new generation that is coming up right now, that is the baby boomers. By 2050, 1 in 4 Americans will be over the age of 65. We call them the Gampies. They're growing, retired, active, moneyed people in excellent shape. And if you look at our Grand Fondo, they are your demographic. Those are the folks that are moving to our community. 31% of our district residents are over the age of 65. And so one of the things that happened during our master plan was we need more activities for that age group, but the problem is that we have no facilities to offer any of that. And so also, if you look at it, if 100 retired households come to your community that have an average income of $40,000, that's like a $4 million annual investment from a business. So these people are a real economy and they help your community. But there's also a new economy happening, and it's called the knowledge workers. And we're seeing a lot of that. I know there's some investment in our city from different property owners to possibly do like workspaces, because we have about 60% of our population leaves every day to go to work. Well, this new generation with technology, now we can have people that can actually work, live, and play in their community because of technology. And with the new bomber that's going to be built, they're hiring 11,000 people. And when you have a community with quality recreation that's safe, that has a good economy, you attract that high quality worker and family. But people who are that knowledge worker, they want activities because, I don't know if you've studied the millennials, but I have. They don't want to they don't want yards, they don't want to mow a lawn, they want a condo, they want a place to hang their mountain bike, and they spend every free moment of their time going somewhere. I have a 23-year-old son, and he's never home, and he's broke. So anyway, but they're always active. They're constantly involved, and they ask for rock climbing walls and mountain bike parks and all kinds of different types of non-traditional activities. When we did, and Laura Lynn kind of touched on this when we did our master plan. I was a part of that master plan. I was working for Supervisor Scribner. And our #1 complaint from our stakeholders is that our facilities are dilapidated. They're falling apart, and where do we find money to be able to take care of that? Because it's kind of like the broken window syndrome. If you have a house with a broken window and you don't take care of it, it attracts people that are going to break into it, squat, whatever. If you have facilities that aren't in very good shape, it attracts vandals. It attracts people who don't care like you care. And so one of the things that came out also is that we did a scientific survey, and the stakeholders surveyed said that they would pay more money for better facilities. 80% of the people surveyed said they would do that. But I just want to show you some of the things we're up against. Our facilities are literally falling apart. The middle picture there is Bright Lake Showers, and the wall is actually coming apart. It's falling off. This is our playground. These are the potholes. I got a bid just to fix that pothole area, which is about 20 feet by 50. It's over $15,000 just to fix the potholes. This is real money that we don't have. Look at Central Park. So when Bill was talking about our graffiti and issues, we have people lighting fires in our bathrooms. They're marking all over the walls, and the reason they're doing that is the location of that bathroom. It's in the back, it's covered, there's trees, no one can supervise. So wouldn't it be great to have a facility out by the road that is modern, that locks on demand, kind of like the buildings that we have around here, so you don't have to have staff to constantly have to monitor bathrooms. Poor Bill had to do a stakeout to catch these kids. And thank God for our police department, they came quick, because if you don't catch them red-handed, it costs a fortune to fix this. This is happening almost every week at Central Park. And then if you look at our trees, we've had to cut, out at Bright Lake, we cut over 25 trees down because of the drought and the beetle. And then also at Central Park, we're losing some of our ancient trees, and we don't have the revenue to be able to replace those trees. Because you need to do an irrigation system. You can't just because it waters with the grass doesn't mean it's going to water your tree. And then here's West Park. This is probably, right now there's about 2,000 people over at West Park playing baseball right now and softball. There's nowhere to park. We have this drainage ditch that is probably the biggest trip hazard you've ever seen. I see little kids running through that and falling down constantly. It's a liability. And then also the drainage, we can't resurface that parking lot. And then our bathrooms. The bathrooms that are at West Park right now are on a septic tank. So if you have that many people using your facilities, so we have to rent porta potties, or Little League does, to be able to accommodate the use of that park. That's bad. Here's our skate park. I worked for the park district and partnered with Woodward West, and we built that skate park. It was only supposed to last about 8 years. It's going on almost, it's probably 15 years old. It's falling apart. Now what's wrong with this is we get skate light to repair the skate light. Problem is the structure underneath is wore out. You can't add any more pieces of skate light to that. So when it gets wore out from the kids' use, it's falling apart. So there's screws popping out. It's bad. So let's talk about the dream. And Laura Lynn kind of touched on it. This is Barker Rinker CCAT. They spoke at the National Recreation Park Conference, and one of my employees, Corey, I don't know if he's here, brought them to us, and it was a godsend. Barker Rinker is their BRS is what they go by. Is all over the United States, and they do exceptional facilities for very affordable. They do it for communities in Kansas. They do it in Colorado, everywhere where they don't have very big. You don't have to be a rich, huge community to be able to afford their facilities. So let's just dream for a minute. So I kind of take this as an idea. This is like almost 60,000 square foot facility, and it only costs $11 million, and you won't believe what they have inside here. This is the footprint. It's a 2-story facility, and ours will be doing some master planning to be able to figure out what fits in our community, the size of our community, and what's going to work. So these are some of the dream pieces that I want to give you kind of a visual of what you can expect their quality of work that these people do. They're amazing, and they work right along with your community. You can see the indoor running track, the rock climbing wall. What I imagine is when a mom drops her kids off for any activity, she or dad or whoever can go do something else.
They don't have to leave. They can stay and be healthy too. Right now, and I used to coach high school basketball, mom would leave her kid at basketball practice. They lived in Bear Valley, and she would, I don't know how many times you can go to Kmart, but not that many.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to do. And so we need to make a combo plate, right? So we can give people something to do besides, sitting in their car, or we want to keep them active. Here's the conference center piece. One of the things that I know that we desperately need, and we're jammed in this tiny little room right now, is that we need meeting space. There is nowhere in this community to have meeting space. I once had a company asked to do a conference up here, and it was geotechnical engineers all from the world. Rio Tinto wanted to do a conference in this town. We had nowhere for them to go. They didn't want to be in the desert because they work in deserts. A lot of mines are in places where no one lives, right? And you're there all the time. So they wanted to come. They thought Tehachapi was a retreat community. It's nice. We have access to 1 million people in 1 hour. So why not build something that you can get a return on investment to help fund the rest of the facility? We also need a daycare facility in this town desperately. A lot of our daycares are at churches, which is fine, but I want to do a STEM care. We have all these engineers and folks moving up from all over the planet, and they demand a high quality education. I think it starts right here with the preschool. Also, over at our mountain biking community has grown in leaps and bounds. I don't know if you realize, but out here at the Lehigh Trails, thanks to a few guys in this room, they have almost 15 miles of mountain bike trail, and that's private. So you have to be a member to be able to go out there. Well, this community now has 3 mountain bike teams, almost two mountain bike teams. We have state champions on the team. We host the Southern California High School Championship, and then next year in 19, we're hosting the state championships. We get thousands of people in May that come to town. They stay in our hotels. The restaurants run out of food. I mean, TK's Pizza ran out of food last time they came here. It was that kind of an impact. But we want to do something for our mountain bike community, which is an important group. And we want them to have like a skills park. Those are really neat. They're not real big. And you can have a lot of activity in a small space. So what we've come to talk to you about is this work plan, the business plan. Any business or anybody getting ready to do a project, you need to know what it's going to cost. You need to get input from your community, what they want. And we're here today to partner with the City of Tehachapi. You guys are a huge asset to our community, and we work really well with you, and so we're here today to ask you to partner with us.
Okay. Any questions from the... Any questions from the public?
Can I speak in opposition to that? Can I speak in opposition to that?
Well, you can speak.
Okay.
You got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Michael Bigley. I live in Tehachapi unincorporated. So what they failed to talk to you about is the bond measure they're putting forward for the Utopia is $43 million. So that's quite a big chunk of government that's going to take over where the private sector should be taking over. For a conservative town, you're actually taking over the role of private industry in these convention centers. I see maybe $500,000 to fix the parks that she's talking about, paving, moving the bathrooms, all the repairs that need to be done, and that's contracting it out. So I don't see where we're going to spend $43 million. And I'm in unincorporated, so I still pay that tax because I'm considered part of the greater Tehachapi park system. When we pulled our permits, we paid $2,100 to the parks. And I questioned it at the time. And they said, you're likely to use those parks other than other parks. So we paid that fee. But if this one goes forward, if you try to get signatures for a $43 million bond, I will be the one leading the charge against it. And I will be getting as many signatures against it. And also, if it does go to a vote, I will question the authority of the Greater Tehachapi Parks District because we are part of Cummings Tehachapi Water District, but that was put forth by a vote in 1965. I don't see where the Greater Tehachapi sphere of influence was ever put to a vote to include the unincorporated areas. So that's my opposition.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a couple answers.
Can I just ask her one question? How many children do you have?
I have 2 children, 1 deceased, so I have 3. They're all grown up. I have a granddaughter.
I have
that lives
6
in
children
Tehachapi.
ranging from 17, 14, 7, 6, 3, and 1. There needs to be stuff for these kids so that they don't grow up vandalizing bathrooms.
Let me just say one thing, just so that we have control in here. Please, if you want, come up to the podium, address yourself to the council, and then you can speak. That's the way we can keep control. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to clarify a few things. The 43 million is the maximum amount we would ever go after. That doesn't mean we're going to. I do know preliminarily, because we did do cost estimating, and when you do any public project, you have to do prevailing wage. So if you can build it yourself, times it by 2 when the public has to do it. It's more expensive. It's because of the regulations that the state of California puts on. Also, you have to do CEQA, which is very expensive also. Plus, our facilities right now, just at Bright Lake, is a $1.5 million project at Bright Lake. And so it's repaid, moving bathrooms. I just got back from a conference for the state parks and rec, and to buy 1 bathroom with 2 boys and 2 girls is $250,000 to put 1 bathroom in. So it's very expensive, but the quality is high, so it can be vandalism free, and you can get the spray paint off, because you have to build them like a tank. So anyway.
Okay, any other questions from the public? Please come to the podium. Keep it in mind, you have 3 minutes.
I don't need that long.
No, that's,
Oh, what? Right here. Oh, okay. Hi, folks. I've been in this community for over 25 years, and I've been waiting all that time for us to have a proper swimming pool, for us to have some decent facilities to fix the parks. And I've been, private industry has not come forward to do it. They've done a lot of things. They've sponsored some concerts, they've sponsored other things, but they're not gonna sponsor a pool. And in the meantime, in all that time, I've gained about 30 pounds. I would love, please, please, let's have these facilities. That's what the community is all about, is having things for the people. And government, yes, is the place that needs to do it. Thank you.
any other comments?
My name is Susan Scholler. I live here in the city. As a member of the Tourism Commission, I want to talk about how much, I really just want to echo what they've said. This is not only an investment in our community and in the families and our children, it's an investment in all of us. Every single one of us, I think, based on some of the vision that they have, will have something for us. I think I have adult children, I have a grandchild. Working at the visitor center, one of the questions that we get all the time is what can my kids do this weekend while we're here? Well, this would be something they could do, because we do have a whole bunch of things they can do, but there's just little things here and there. There's a park over here, there's this, or maybe we don't have an event that weekend. This will be something that will be open to them. This will be such an investment, not only for us as we age, but for the young kids, for the teenagers. As was mentioned, it'll give them something to do. And I think the most important thing is it makes recreation a part of their daily life. It's not just something that they'll do later, but it will become, and one of the things that we talk about at the visitor center, it is about a lifestyle, and that's what we're trying to say. People live here because they want to, and I think this would just be kind of the icing on the cake for an already amazing community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hello everyone, my name is Dwayne Ferguson. Many of you might know me from Subway in town. If you come get a good sandwich, probably seen me there before. I'm also a father of 6 kids. That was my wife that stood up there. I'm a coach. I volunteer at the Parks and Rec for sports that we do, baseball, and I guess I'll just make my point simple, because I'm looking at this paper, and Michelle, I'm working with her in partnership to maybe put on an event this summer for kids at the skate park. And she said, can you please come tonight, because you have kids and it'd be very important for the community to hear you speak on behalf of kids and the facilities. And I'm looking at the notes or the agenda before we speak tonight, and I see 3 zeros, and I'm like, that's gotta be wrong. She wanted me to come for something huge and big. And I get that the end project is huge and big, but tonight, for a city, we're just discussing $15,000, right? For kids. I mean, that's not a whole lot for kids, and I'm pretty sure everybody here could say that there's some way, somehow, that we could give up $15,000 for generations of children, if that's what we're talking about here, and that's what I saw. So I just wanted to point that out, and I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Mayor Grimes, could I chime in a bit here?
Sure.
I just want to add some clarity to what we're talking here. So, Tehachapi Valley Recreation Parks District is a special district. The city of Tehachapi is within that district. They provide a great service. They do need some help, and I applaud them for coming to us and asking for assistance to take a journey. They're asking for $15,000. They're gathering other partners. I would expect the county, I know the hospital district is looking into it. They're investing some of their own money. So if you look at the screen there, they're looking at a $48,478 journey at this point to research whether or not or how much this community would support in the manner of fixing or repairing current facilities and or designing and building new facilities. So I think it would be very prudent of us to join hands with them, contribute the $15,000. We do have it in our bank, if you will. It's not budgeted, but we can certainly accommodate the request so that we can take this journey and figure out over the next couple months whether or not it's prudent to move forward and support them.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Sandy Chavez. I'm a resident. I've been here for 27 years. I've also had the pleasure of working for the Parks and Recreation. And nothing really has changed with the facilities. If anything, they have worsened. When we moved here 27 years ago, our venue for birthday parties was West Park. Marie had her birthday party till she was about 10 at West Park. That is no longer an option. So venues are very hard to find. I have a grandson, one that uses the skate park as is and probably continues to just wear it out. I have one that we're raising 5 years old and would love to see him have something outside of Tanglewood Drive. As the Salvation Army, we have an after-school program. We have about 30 kids that come in. And I don't know if you're familiar with our building on the corner of Snyder and Tehachapi Boulevard. It's not much. It's something right now, and it fits what we're doing. But this here, I believe that as a city that is moving up, a park that does play up, it is time, and it is the season. It is the time. It's time for us to go ahead and take that leap of faith, because we have done it in our infrastructure, the beautification of downtown. I mean, we've worked very hard for this, and I think it's time. This is it. This is the icing that we need. Thank you for your time. Thank you guys for your effort, for everything that this city has done to beautify this community. We love it, and I, for one, will support this effort. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
My name is Lindsay Heckathorn. I'm on the board for Tehachapi Little League, and just reiterating what she had said, our park is falling apart. I have over 400 kids that play Little League. Wow. Like she said, the ravine is a trip hazard. It's smelly. It stinks. When it rains really bad, our fields are taking a beating. We're spending so much money. We're 100% nonprofit. And we're having to put money into fixing our snack bar because it's constantly being broken into. Every year, it gets broken into twice. Once at the beginning of the season, once toward the end. It's a couple $1,000s in damage. We have to repair the walls. We have to repair the things that are broken, the food, the drinks, whatever's being taken. So we're having issues with that. And then the bathrooms. We're having to pay for porta potties. And they're constantly having to be cleaned. They're being vandalized. They're just a bunch is happening. So I reiterate, we need help, especially West Park. We have so many kids that play baseball, and they would really, really appreciate it. So, thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm getting a general idea of how people feel about this particular project. We'll have a couple of more here coming.
Where's your spokesperson with you?
I brought my husband, who's my cheering section in the back, and then the kiddos. I did bring them, and then they're locked safely in the car with the phone. Right outside, to be quite honest. Nobody called the police. But I did bring them as a visual representation of the kids of Tehachapi, so sorry about the noise interruption initially. Honorable Mayor, City Council members, and staff, thank you for your time this evening. I'm Nikki Cummings. I live in an unincorporated area, but my husband and I represent World Wind and Solar, the largest private employer, proudly the largest private employer in the city of Tehachapi. We boast over 250 employees, and that's 250 families. We have close to 100 of those staff members from the greater Tehachapi area, and we are extremely proud of that. So I just stand here in support of investing in the due diligence and the research to do the business plan. I think that it's a worthwhile investment as a taxpayer. I know that I'm not a taxpayer as a resident in the city of Tehachapi, but I am as an employer, and many of my staff members are. So I just ask that you consider it. And I know that it'll be a blessing. I did grow up here my whole life. My husband did as well. We love this community. And I agree with what Sandy said. It's time to take that step. It's time to reinvest in our community. We're in escrow on a building here to reinvest in downtown Tehachapi, hopefully to restore a very historic building here that I can announce shortly, and move Whirlwind and expand here. And so I ask you to consider that, and when it comes time to put the shovel in the ground, and when Michelle's dreams are a reality, Buddy and Nikki and Whirlwind will be willing to write more than just a check with our taxes. Thank you.
Any other comments?
My name is James Roberts. I live in the city. I was just curious, what would be the timeline to bring this whole project to fruition? I'm speaking of bring it to getting on a ballot, bring it to a vote, and
so the business
petitions,
plan will
that
be
sort of-
completed by July 1st, the draft. The whole plan will be done August, like the last week of August. So, but the draft cost plan, the business plan and the costing, so I'll know that. We're gonna put it on the ballot for November. And then once it passes, we're gonna start the revitalization right away. So you'll be able to see right away of us fixing up our existing facilities, and then we're gonna start on the building plans and all that fun EIR fun stuff. So it should take about 2 years for the facility.
So if it goes on a ballot and is passed, when do the assessments start?
Once I start selling bonds,
And when would that be?
right away.
And are you folks gonna vote on this issue tonight?
Yes, we are.
You voting on?
Yes, sir.
On the 15,000.
On the 15,000.
Contribution, yes. So Jim, Mr. Roberts, does it mean you're in favor of the 15,000 or just?
Am I in favor of it?
For the study?
Well, my first question was, before I was, how, I have an organizational chart here. I can see how the city of Tehachapi is associated with Parks and Rec. In other words, why are we, I thought we were supporting, I mean, I didn't see Parks and Rec on the organizational chart, so I couldn't see how you could transfer funds to somebody that wasn't associated with the city.
We'll be partners.
I see now that you just give them the money, even like you would any other entity that wanted money to do a project that benefited the city as you see it. I see. No, that's all. I was just curious about it.
Thank you.
Any other comments? You've already had your comments, sir.
3 minutes?
You've already had your comments, sir.
Okay, but I didn't comment.
Any other comments? Okay, I'm going to turn to the council now. Yes.
All I can say, one of the top issues when people hit you or come up to you in public or in the store, when are you going to fix the pool, or when are you going to come up with something for us to do? And a lot of these comments are coming from seniors, believe it or not. In addition to the comments from families with their kids and grandkids, they want something to do up here. So I hear that loud and clear. And from what I hear from what you said, the initial study said 80% of people from the feedback and overwhelming feedback from the Facebook is that people are ready to say yes in November, if that's what it takes. So the first step would be a study so you get an idea exactly what you're gonna be paying for. If you're gonna say, I will spend $50 a year or $20 a year or whatever it is on the tax roll to help the Parks and Rec throughout the entire region to do this. The study is absolutely necessary to get the facts in front of everybody, not on Facebook, not in social media, other places, but facts that anybody can go to the library and get the official study, not the emotional study. There is the difference. And I have to say, the lady, I'm sorry, that spoke in the back next to Kim? Sandy? I like that. It's time, this is the next season for Tehachapi. We're the land of 4 seasons, and I think you hit it on the head. It's the season to move up. And I think that'd be a great slogan, just my 2 cents. I'm all in favor of the city contributing $15,000 to partner with other entities. The city's not just doing this on its own, they're asking for a contribution. And for the money you get back from a contribution like this, it's just like Main Street. For every dollar you put $1 in, you're getting 4 times back. So, and this is what the community wants. I'm 110% with it. So that's my 2 cents.
Comments?
I've served on the Recreation Board, as has Mayor Grimes, and the facilities are still the way they were the day I wasn't on the board anymore, because we didn't have any money. I know we have a couple of former board members in the audience. Same thing. We would have loved to have done some of these things. I got married at Bright Lake because my husband, a Wiggins, his ancestors were the Brights. I couldn't get married now at Bright Lake. There's no place to do it. It's a mess. And that's not because of neglect, it's just because of time. So, in everything, nobody wants to spend money to save money in a sense. And I get that. But I've had to, they're talking about senior citizens. Well, I'm the over 65 people, I guess, but a lot of senior citizens in a community say, no, we're on a fixed income, and we don't want to have anything that's taxed. But then they're the ones who stop you in the grocery store and say, how come the pool isn't fixed, and why isn't it open all year, and all that. So I'm in favor of this. I would have supported it when I was on the rec board. It's a good idea, and it helps spread everything out over the whole valley.
Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I have some questions, and I don't know, Michelle, if it's for you or for Laura, but where does the majority of the funding for the park district come from?
The county.
The majority of that, and that was the number that was in
Unincorporated area.
the number that was in the slide?
The 870,000 is, well, you guys have a small piece of that, but the majority of the taxpayers are the county. But
Okay.
you guys have the majority of the facilities in the city.
Okay, and then dovetailing that question, what is the population percentage in the city versus the rest of the district?
I don't know.
So
It's
the-
in the master plan. We have that in the master plan. I didn't pull that out.
So the district, I mean, we've got roughly 8,500 people in the city.
In our
limits.
district, we have 16,540 properties. Majority of them are in the unincorporated area.
Okay.
So it'd be about 50%.
It's about a third to 2/3, kind of.
Okay, you mentioned sponsors in the past
Mhm.
with some of the other things that you've
Yeah.
presented. Have you contacted the sponsors that have previously worked with the Parks District to ask them to participate in the evaluation process?
Yes. So every one of our sponsors will be invited to our public meetings, but also through this process, they're going to give us funding opportunities to name a room, to name the preschool, to name the pool. So you'll be able to have extra revenue streams from those corporate sponsors.
Okay, have you asked them to participate in the $15,000, $48,000 process?
Not yet, no.
Is that part of the plan,
Yes.
to ask
Yes.
them? Okay, thank you. How much funding do you anticipate will go to the repair side of the house, repair and maintenance versus the new facility?
So during the master plan, this was back in 2013, which included Morris Park. I don't foresee us, Morris Park is a whole, once the city grows out towards Morris Park, that will be in play. Right now, the city is not there. But what I see is it was $14 million to upgrade, so $8 million of that was for Morris Park. And that was including a new pool and everything at Morris Park. So, but see, when they did that, they didn't look at West Park and some of the, I mean, they talked about the lights and the bathrooms but the drainage ditch is a giant problem. It smells, there's dead animals that go, it's really bad. And it's a huge liability for us. I mean, we have people getting out of their cars and in the parking lot. So a lot of this stuff they didn't hit on everything that really needs to be done.
The reason I'm asking is, I want to make sure that we're all in agreement that it's not a disproportionate part of the money that's going to be floated that goes to fix the broken stuff versus something that's new.
Well, what's nice about the park district is we're regional. So all of our main parks are regional. So you can't say like Central Park. I mean, Central Park is a regional park. So the majority of the users are probably not city residents. They're probably out of the area because of the location, the type of park it is for birthday parties and such. We only have one skate park, so everybody will use that skate park. Same with Little League fields, everybody will use that. So the only thing I think, and same with Bright Lake, it's a regional facility. This facility will be the only one that will have multiple things in it within the city of Tehachapi. The reason this facility has to go in the city of Tehachapi is because of infrastructure. You cannot put a pool or any of that, or a conference center on a septic tank. City of Tehachapi is the only one that has a sewer treatment plant. There's no way we could put it in the county.
Okay, and then my final question.
Sorry, Mr. Heckey, can I add to that?
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
think your question is getting answered, so I thought maybe I would try to elaborate on that example for you. The dream poster that we put up there, that particular building was quoted at just over $11 million. So I think a lot of these answers will come out through this plan that we're trying to do and through the study that we're trying to do. And for example, if we, I'm throwing out hypothetical numbers, okay, but say we do a $30-40 million project. Of that, approximately 11 to 12 to 13 may go to the building and the rest may go to facilities. I mean, we're gonna have to go through and set priorities, obviously. Obviously, safety issues are gonna have to be number one. So
Okay.
Does that help? Does that answer your question?
It does
Okay.
clarify it a little bit.
Okay.
And then the final question that I have, you mentioned earlier that there were surveys that were conducted. You mentioned the chili cook-off. Were there any other surveys that were sent out in a formal fashion?
There were phones. They did a scientific survey too. So there was a phone survey that was done. It was an $8,000 survey process. And so there was a phone survey. There were email. They did like an email survey. You could go online and fill out a survey. So there was like the volunteer plus the scientific, plus with this plan. So tomorrow's our board meeting. So we'll be approving the contracts with the consultants that we want to use. Tomorrow we are going to be doing a $7,500 survey. If 90% of the people say no, or majority say they will never pay 1 penny more to the park district, then we're wasting our time, or else we're not doing a good enough job communicating our problem. And so we are going to be paying for a survey right now, a scientific survey.
Okay, great, thanks, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else have any?
I do. This is a pretty grandiose dream, if you would, and I know firsthand of the repairs that need to go to the parks
Right.
and Bright Lake and skate park and whatnot. Are you planning on having other meetings after this, or have you had it before, or?
So I was a part of the master plan. We did tons of outreach and open communication. We had lots of workshops, and there were a lot of residents showed up and prioritized the things that they want. So we already kind of know what people want, and that's why the facility is really high on the list. But during this process, we're going to have 2 major public hearings with the consultant, and then I'm going to be out also educating folks and talking to them and getting feedback from them too.
How about, have you reached out to the county for funds?
Well, do you know the county's got a $50 million deficit this year?
Yeah.
And so what's sad is the county of Kern, I don't know if you've seen some of the county facilities, they're worse than us. And I don't want to be that. The city of Tehachapi and the community of Tehachapi is a much higher caliber of a community, and their demands are a lot higher. So I believe in reinvesting in our own community. And the county of Kern, I mean, I did talk to Zach about it. It will come, if he has any revenue or money, it'll come out of his discretionary funds, but it'll be very little.
Have you looked at grants for this?
So one of the things about Tehachapi, and the good thing, is that we used to be a disadvantaged, we used to have a large population of disadvantaged community. One thing that's happened through the years of reinvesting and making and attracting pretty high caliber people that are working in a higher, aerospace industry and other industries, is that we no longer qualify for low income. And most of the grants, I mean, I'm telling you, I just came back from a conference and everything, there's a new bond going out, and every single grant application, you have to be a disadvantaged city. Our average income in Tehachapi is $80,000 a year. It's very hard for us. There's very small pockets of our city that we could qualify.
One last thing. And I'm asking you because I'm wondering, because I'm all for the recreation, I'm all for the kids. I've got no problem with 15. But it seems like it ought to go up, the bond measure ought to be passed before you start spending money on stuff.
I'm not going to spend one penny, but we need to know how much it's going to cost for us to do a bond. If it only comes, let's say we do all of our costing and we do this building and it only costs $20 million, that's all we're doing. We'll never build anything that we can't afford to take care of, because we're going to end up like we are now.
Well, excuse me, but you already have.
Well, that's past, we're
not
moving
blaming you.
forward, we're looking to the future, and I think our community's ready to reinvest. If you have a home and you don't paint your house, you have to invest in paint to paint your house. We're investing. Our community, I don't own the park district, you guys do. The residents own the park district. They're the investors. And you have to, when you go out to get stock, we're going out for stock right now. We're asking our community to buy stock in the park district. It's just like if you were a company trying to expand and buy more equipment, we're asking you to buy stock.
Okay. On that same hand, I don't own the $15,000 either, these folks do. So.
Exactly, and I'm a resident too, so I've helped pay to that kitty.
That it? Yeah. I'm going to bring this up for a motion in just a minute, but I would like to make a statement also. 65 years ago, I played in some of these facilities, so you know they're old.
They weren't here then.
A lot of you weren't here.
They were dirt.
But they are becoming dilapidated. I have 10 grandchildren. I believe they deserve something that's better than what I had. And I think, this is a plan going forth. Michelle's done a lot of hard work on it. She's very believing in it. And I would like to say that I want to support that, because it's not just about my children, it's about everybody else's. And we need good facilities for them. We need to have something good for these kids. We wonder all the time about inner city issues, that how kids get involved in crime. It's because they don't have nothing to do. And I want these kids to have something to do. Tehachapi is a good place to raise your kids. I had 4 children of my own. They couldn't wait to get away from Tehachapi. 3 of them came back. And they're teachers, they're educators now here in the Tehachapi area. So, we need to think long and hard about this. I really think that Michelle is doing her homework on it, doing it the right way, and so I would support that. And at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion on the.
So moved as presented.
And I will second that motion.
I have a motion and a second on item number 3 to request for funding in the amount of $15,000 for the study of the parks plan. Any other questions that the council has?
I would. I'd like to see that study. Once it's
Well, we
finished.
will.
Yeah.
We will.
Absolutely. I agree.
Okay.
Oh, well.
With that said, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Good job, Michelle.
Our town deserves this, man.
Okay, let's move on to item number 7, mid-year budget adjustments.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Grimes and council members.
Hold on just a minute. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
So the agenda before you is a presentation of mid-year budget adjustment that we do every year around this time of the year. The numbers you will see in these presentations are difference between the original budget and the adjusted budget. So, and as a result of the mid-year budget adjustment that will be presented, and we will recognize the fund balance increase of $1,053,592 in total of all funds, all city funds. And the LLD and Landscape Lighting District and the Drainage Basin Assessment District will see the reduction in the fund balance of $22,081. So I will move on to the various summaries. It's included in your packet. So I will start with the general funds. In general fund, I will go with the revenue side first. On property tax, we have adjusted to favorable, increase 18,225. Sales tax increase 53,371 from the original budget. And the hotel tax, TOT, increase of $110,457. And business license fees of $14,586. And franchise fee, we will adjust it down, reduce the budget to, budget of $20,816. And the loan for PD vehicles and parking lot, and the next agenda item you will see, $525,000. The police revenue, this is including the grants and fingerprint, the printing charges and the police reports, $14,386. And development service revenue, $23,223. And admin allocations to landscape lighting district and the drainage districts, so $46,000. Actually, this one was not budgeted. We usually don't budget that. And the sales of fixed assets, $10,121. And then I will move on to the expenditure side. So we will recognize $231,000 of wages and benefit reduction. It's because of the vacant positions such as assistant city manager and the medical insurance. And also Michelle Vance, we have like few months gap. And operating supplies and dues, 53,000 increase. And contract services mostly for PDs and 21,000 increase. And police vehicles, 125,000. And this is another item that you will see in the next agenda item. And then we are increasing legal fees of 80,000. And plan check and engineering fees for increase of 75,000. And yet, insurance and bonds, for the general fund, we are reducing 77,000 is due to the allocation-based change. And the computer maintenance, we are increasing 37,000 due to unanticipated the computer maintenance requirement. And the finance new office, this item is actually previously approved by the council, and we are actually putting 80,000 total cost, And out of 80,000, 42,000 will be paid by the dispatch loan proceeds that we have in our cash. And the PD parking lot, land and construction, they actually council approved $127,000 land purchase. And the next count, the 400,000 is anticipated for the construction. And so overall, the miscellaneous, all other revenues and expenditures, we're looking at 31,000 increase, whereas approximately 4,000 increase in expenses. Unless you have any question on general funds, I am going to move on to the next item. Any questions?
Any questions?
I'm going very fast because there are many items to cover.
Go ahead.
I don't see any questions, so I'll move on to gas tax and street and road funds. This money is basically we receive for the road maintenance, and we use the street and road fund for subsidize the shortage in gas tax funds, as well as we pay for the project, the city portion of the capital project. So SB1, this is the new money that from the gasoline tax increase. So we will be receiving approximately 25,000 this year. So that is new items that added to 2016, 17 and 18 budget. And I'm going to move on to expenditure. That's the revenue side, and all other revenue we are looking at 33,000 increase in gas tax and street and road fund. On expenditure side, we're going to have to increase 63,448 additional transfer to Fund 310, which is for slurry seal this year. I think it's due to timing. And then the personnel related costs. Again, this is the same, the reason for the general funds. We are recognizing 37,000 reduction, and all other items in expenditure for street maintenance is 54,541 increase. And then all other capital projects. Most of these capital projects, the variances are due to timing, other than just few items that increase in either revenue or expenditure. So I will go on to the first item, the Parks and Rec, the capital project funds. So this is actually the revenue that we collect for Parks and Rec, and eventually the 15,000 for Michelle was asking will come out of this fund, not general fund. As of now, we have approximately 45,000 in cash. And the facility impact fee funds, we're going to reduce the revenue 68,000, so we simply over budgeted. And the pedestrian travel facility, like a very minor $204 expenditure increase. And TDA bike rack, it's the in and out. We didn't budget anything, but we have requested $2,000 for the bike rack, and then we do have a project for that same amount. And traffic signals and regional. This is the fee fund, and we are very minor, $963 increase. That's from the interest. And the traffic, the fair share, that's also the fee fund, $534 for the interest that's underestimated in original budget funds. And building and planning capital funds, this is 122. I think this is very little money we collect for it's a one of the fee. And the slurry seal various streets. This is the fund that's very much of timing, and we are increasing the revenue 83,786. This is one of those that the fund will be transferred from gas tax funds, 63,000, and 86,000 also on the expenditure side will be increased. And HSIP East Tehachapi Boulevard project. We are increasing 144,805, mostly from grant, and then increasing the expenditure 2,400. ATP Valley Boulevard and Bike Phase 2. The revenue side increase is 184,605. That's the grant, and then we are also increasing the expenditure approximately 21,000. RDA bond proceeds funds, and the 4,800 increase in revenue is for the interest, and expenditure side, $236,441. This money will be transferred to Tehachapi Boulevard Bike Path Project, and the Transit Center and Park and Ride. We are going to increase approximately $20,000 of revenue. And ATP SR2S and gap closure project. The revenue side, mostly grants, we are increasing $447,000, whereas we are increasing expenditure side $280,000. And the rail corridor pedestrian safety, we are reducing $1,560,000 on the revenue side, and also expenditure side is similar amount, 1.6 million. That's for the due to timing matter. And I'm going to jump on to the next item, the Mill Street is very little. The Tehachapi Boulevard, the bike path and project phase 1, $471,916 increase in the revenue side, whereas expenditure side will be increased $532,000. And Tupper Road rehabilitation, $302,000 increase in revenue side and $40,000 increase in expenditure side. North side neighborhood sidewalk, we will be reducing $12,000 in revenue and $21,000 in expenditures. And the the Antelope Run project, we will be increasing $25,000 in expenditure side. The Cherry Lane improvement, $30,000 in the revenue and $30,000 in expenditure. It's a wash. And the PD parking lot, the increase in revenue $400,000. This is basically from loan, and $35,000 on the expenditure side for as a project. And so overall, the gas tax will have $22,000 reduction in fund balance, whereas capital project we will have $776,780 increase in the fund balance altogether. So I'm going to move on to water fund. Water fund is an enterprise fund, and retail water utility, that's basically a water sales. We are anticipating additional $12,000 revenue increase, and state grant. Actually, we already received this, and $56,000 we received for Snyder Well Intertie project. So therefore, we are increasing it. And the miscellaneous revenue, this is mostly for any some surcharges that when we sell the water to TCCWD, the pipeline that comes into the city for the grass, the watering the lawn and whatnot, and city charges the service fee. And then loan proceeds, we are adding $120,000 for the backhoe. And on our expenditure side, the purchase of an equipment, that is actually the backhoe, $115,000. Actually, this is just, like I said, it's the difference between what we budgeted and what is adjusted. And the meter purchase, we are increasing $41,000. And then personnel related costs, we are increasing $26,000 due to medical insurance increase, the cost increase. And insurance and bonds, $22,000. And this is due to additional liability insurance as well as the premium allocation base change. And the allocated cost increase is $13,000 to water fund. And equipment financing payment, we are reducing $37,000. This amount was budgeted in 2017 and 18. However, the first payment will not start until 18 and 19. And the utilities, we are reducing $40,000. And overall, all other items in revenue, we are looking at $433 increase, whereas $6,200 increase in expenditure side for the water. So after all these variances, we are looking at $57,670,000 fund balance increase at the end of the fiscal year. It's, I mean, if I say fund balance in the water fund, it's rather incorrect. This is more of the cash balance increase. The sewer fund, the connection fee, we are looking at close to $9,300 increase, and sewer use fee is $13,000 increase, interest of $13,000 increase. On the expenditure side, insurance and bonds, $22,000 increase. It's like same as the water fund, additional liability insurance and the premium reallocation. And the loan payment, $15,000, this is same as the water fund, that it's just the timing. And all other items on expenditure side, overall $29,000 increase in sewer fund. So with all that, in sewer fund, we will be recognized $1,073 reduction in the cash balance after adjustment of budget. Budget adjustment is done. And refuse fund, on the revenue side, we're just looking at about a $3,000 increase in refuse. More than likely, this is from the contract. The revenue of refuse service. And the contract service, we are reducing $32,000. The contract with the waste management, and the personnel related cost, $11,000 reduction. And that's also the allocated cost reduction, and insurance and bond increase of $14,000. So after mid-year budget adjustment, refuse fund, we are looking at $38,449 increase to the fund balance. And transit fund. The transit Article 4 increase is $89,000. This is basically, we just submitted a 17-18 the claims, which covers, this is actually to cover for prior year fund deficit. And in expenditure side, we are adding $17,390 for park and ride, the bus station lease by from Union Pacific. And the miscellaneous items, which is all other, the revenue $770 increase, whereas expenditure side $7,742 increase, which will result $64,797 increase to fund balance. And then airports, the overall reduction in revenue is approximately $3,000, whereas reduction in expenses, we're looking at like $9,000. And at the end of adjustment, we are looking at $6,000 increase in cash balance, like fund balance in airport. So I went really fast. If there's any questions, and I'll be happy to answer. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the contract services for refuse, I'm just curious about additional liability insurance premium at reallocation of 14 grand. If it's a contract service, we're still paying insurance on that?
Yes, it is, okay. So any, the way we allocate all these insurance, and we have the base, based on, so we use many different bases, like payrolls, and, although there is no employee, we do allocate the payroll. And as long as there's a payroll allocation, there is workers' comp related, any liability related. So due to that, and that's why the insurance gets allocated.
Even though it's a contract service?
Even though it's a contract services, and all that fund has to have a burden of all other employees.
So we provide the billing, right? Just like we did with bin,
the overhead
sanitation.
in-house.
So
Yes, yes.
It's the in-house overhead, so
we're
it's
not paying any insurance
front
premiums
office
for their
personnel.
employees.
Oh, no,
accounting.
not for that.
No.
Well,
Sorry.
I was just thinking, okay.
It's far simpler.
Anybody that touches it,
Okay,
in-house.
so
It's
our
far simpler.
employees that are touching that
It's
part.
for our insurance.
There you go.
Just a question, thank you.
Good question.
Any other questions that anybody has? Any questions from the audience? Okay, let's move on. We have to, do I have a motion to approve the 2017-18 mid-year budget adjustments as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the item as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carries. Let the record show that it is 5 ayes. Okay.
Thank you, Hannah.
I'd like to thank you. Thank you to all the staff members. We have a solid budget. Very proud of our budget.
Well, we've got an increase of $1 million for a little town. That's great. Thank you.
That's a good news.
Okay, item number 8.
Again, thank you, Honorable Mayor Grimes and council members and Adjunct Finance Director. The item before you is the purchasing the 2 police vehicles, 1 public work backhoe, and the construction of the PD parking lot. So since we were about to finance backhoe, I wanted to piggyback all those the necessary items. By doing that, we are saving a lot of money, and you know, as you know, the interest rates are, you know, it's going up, and this is the time. I wanted to do it as soon as possible instead of waiting and then doing a piecemeal, because when you add it all together, it's much cheaper doing it that way. So, you know, as the council is aware, the city has various departments. The regulatory budgets for capital project improvement costs associated with the replacement of various assets such as vehicles and machinery or improvement projects. So the listed in this project, in this report, are the purchase of new vehicles for Tehachapi Police Department, and the backhoe for Public Works Department, actually for the water funds, and the construction of parking lots. And all those, the quotes are included in the packet, and 2 police vehicles, and basically those 2 police vehicles will be replaced for high number, the mileage police vehicles. You know, because of that, it's old and you know, it requires a lot of the repair. It is necessary to have extra the vehicles to when those vehicles are in shop or not functioning, we need the vehicles to cover for that. And those 2, the comprehensive, the quotes was $120,847.19. And for the public works equipment, tobacco, which was actually is in the budget. And there were, the public works director had invited for the quotes, and he received 2. One is from Caterpillar, and the other one is John Deere. And he decided to go with the Caterpillar, and if you have any questions for that matter, and I'm sure he will be happy to answer your question. The third item to purchase is parking lot construction on C Street. And the property on next to this way, adjacent to the police building, that city has purchased and council actually approved for the purchase. And you know, the police station has become a very frequent the meeting space with only limited public parking. And the police department activities usually keep the access control the parking at or near capacity. As such, an additional parking lot provides much needed space for the proper utilization of the police station. And so Development Service, the Director of Development Service, he did some study actually, and he came up with approximately $400,000 the parking lot, the project. So if you have any questions on any of those items, I'm sure that each department heads will be, they'll be happy to answer.
Okay. Any
Before
questions?
I move on to the financing matter.
Any questions from the audience? Come to the podium.
I'm Kim Cummings, I live in town. People live in town that are taxpayers can't understand the thing you guys are doing at all up here. Why don't you save some of your money, get speakers so we can understand what's going on with our money? We appreciate it, you can save some money to do that. We can't understand, we can't hear a thing you guys are talking about. That's all mumbled, for what it's worth.
Any other questions? Council?
Mr. Mayor, I have some questions, but I think it's probably going to pertain to the latter part, specifically with the contract and the financing. The one thing I think, Hannah, maybe you can address, is it customary for us, and I realize, and I appreciate what you said about going after a big chunk of money for interest rate purposes. But is it customary to tie together financing for a piece of land-related asset versus vehicular asset? Typically, those are funded separately. Vehicles, equipment, that's one pool, and real property and parking lots and other things are typically come out of another bucket.
Well,
Is it purely, the reason that you chose to do it like this was purely to save on the interest rate by going after a $650,000 amount? Or was there some other mechanism?
No, and not only that, okay, so for the construction of parking lots, they require collaterals. So by doing this, we were benefited because we are purchasing backhoe, because we are purchasing PD vehicle, and that was not enough to back the $400,000 parking lot, so we had to provide more equipment as a collateral.
Well,
So
I see
by
that's-
combining it, it was benefited.
Okay,
And
that's
also-
actually a question that I have a little later on.
Yeah.
In the financing side of it, it looks like we collateralized all of our public works equipment
Right.
to get this loan. And
Right, because if we defaulted, they cannot take the parking lot away.
Right,
It's not the building, so,
but they could take all of our tractors away.
that's right. But we were
so-
not going to default it, but, you know.
Sure. Okay,
and-
sorry, I kind of interrupted you, but I think we can.
And also, another benefit is, no matter what's the loan amount that we're gonna borrow, we only pay $5,000. One-time documentation fee. Either it's like $5 million or $500,000. We pay $5,000 documentation fee. So that's a big benefit, having it instead of doing a piecemeal.
Okay,
Not
thank
to
you.
mention a lot of paperwork.
Right, thank you.
So I'm going to move on to the fiscal impact. The estimated cost for the 2 police vehicles, backhoe, and the construction of a PD parking lot is $639,850. And the city will finance $650,000, which includes $5,000 of fee. And this loan will be at 3.5% annual rate, and term will be 7 years, 14 payments. We will make a semi-annual payment. And the fiscal year, the payment will starting from next fiscal year, 2018-19, through 2022 and 23. And the payment amount will be $52,751.15. And like I said, documentation is $5,000. So if there's any question on financing, I'll be happy to answer.
Any other questions?
I do, but they're more in the exhibits of the actual agreement.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
okay. Then I think you should answer before I move on to the recommendation.
Want me to ask?
Yes.
Okay. Under Exhibit D, and it's fairly deep in the document.
Exhibit D to what?
Exhibit D to the item that we're talking about.
Is it part of a document? Because I'm on my iPad, I have to.
No, Tom, I sympathize.
Do you have a page number?
Hang on a second. It was in the financing agreement between Hallman and us, and it was one of their exhibits. If that sort of helps get there.
Ken, do you have a page number on the PDF?
Yeah, hang on a second, Phil, I'm trying to get there.
Is it the essential use certificate, is that what you're looking at?
It is, it sure is. We've listed the parking lot in that grouping under paragraph 3 in Exhibit D. And I apologize, I still haven't gotten there. Nevertheless, it says, why is the equipment essential to your ability to deliver governmental services? And I think we need to make a change or an amendment to this. The second sentence of that says, the police vehicles and the parking lot are essential for the city to provide public safety. Well, parking lots aren't really part of public safety, but police cars are. So I think we need to separate those so we don't get into a concern with that. And these are purely contractual issues. If we can make that amendment, I don't have any other concerns with that.
What kind of amendment do you want? You want to just take out?
Well, I don't think parking lots are essential to public
Well,
safety.
you gotta have a place to park your police vehicles.
I think that's on the other side though, behind the gate, isn't it?
Well, what are we gonna use the parking lot for?
For us. I thought it was gonna be used to support the community service.
That's also for the safety, if you think about it, instead of parking your car in the.
Okay, well,
It's semantics.
When it says something that is questionable, I bring it to somebody's attention. I don't feel that a parking lot is part of public safety. If you folks feel that it's public safety, then let it ride. But that is a concern that I have as a council person. I would not sign that covenant with that language in it. I would pull that out and move it to a different paragraph.
I can actually answer the question. The design, the conceptualized design does include in a future phase additional secured parking in the back of the parking lot, because the chief has informed me in the preparation of my initial study that he does foresee the need for additional secured parking space as part of this parking lot. So part of it is for the public use of this facility, but part of it is indeed for the secure parking associated with the activities of the police force. So I think it's probably not a problem to say that the parking lot is going to be used for parking the police vehicles and that it is essential to the operation of this facility.
If that's the case, then it satisfies the requirement. So, unfortunately, I couldn't see that in any plans or anything else that I read anywhere.
All I've done is an initial estimate,
Okay,
but yeah,
all right.
there you go.
Thanks. Exhibit F, Hannah, rolls down to the,
That's the opinion of legal counsel?
it sure is, yeah. And I was just curious as to why your name's not on the bottom of that.
That's a document that they gave us.
Mhm.
I will pull that out and write it on my letterhead.
Okay.
The portion of it that
Okay.
I'm gonna go with.
Because it said, it related to just a law firm, and
It's
it
just-
said city attorney at the top, and then it said firm at the bottom, and everything else is addressed with the mayor's name, and I was just a little curious as to why your name as the city attorney wasn't listed there.
They put this in to show me what they need from me.
Okay.
I've already deleted some sentences from it.
Okay.
And I've written out what I'm gonna provide them if you adopt this.
Okay.
So, this is just generic.
Okay, thanks for the clarification on that. And then that concludes with item J. And item J was the list of collateralized vehicles that we're going to put up as collateral for receiving the loan. And I always get nervous with collateral situations, and I realize, the chances of us getting into a default situation are slim to none, but things do happen. And I'm a little nervous collateralizing substantial pieces of our public works department's equipment to obtain a loan. Because if there is a default situation, God forbid that there is, we could potentially lose that, and then we're gonna have guys out digging ditches with hand shovels. So, well, I hope not. And the chances again are very, very slim that that is the case. But anytime you collateralize something, you are absolutely agreeing to foregoing that if there's a default.
Yeah,
And the
either that
default
or-
may not even be, it could be an accidental default.
Right. Either that or we have to, if we want the parking lot, we will have to cash it. Or from the cash out of the general fund. The option is either that or bond, borrow it with the collateral, so.
And the only way you can borrow is with a bond.
Sure.
So, if you don't have any more questions, I'm gonna move on to the recommendation.
Okay.
Okay, so staff recommends, number 1, approve the purchase of 2 police vehicles. Number 2, approve the purchase of a backhoe loader. Number 3, approve the construction of police department parking lots. Number 4,
approve the financing agreement with the Holman Capital Corporation for lease purchase financing, 7-year term with pending legal approval and adopt a resolution. And number 5, authorize the finance director to proceed with the financing process.
So moved.
Second?
I got a motion and a second on the recommendation as stated on item number 8. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Let the motion, or let the record show that the motion, the vote was 5 ayes. Getting late.
Thanks, Anna. Great job.
Okay, item number 9.
Honorable Mayor, council members, this is my first item as the airport manager, so bear with me here, but I'm excited to take the position here. So this is for informational purposes only, and I'm just going to kind of serve as a brief update to you guys on what's going on at the airport right now, and kind of inform the pilots of a few things that are going on that we've been working on a lot of these things for a few months. So the first thing is the Verizon lease. As you know, we brought that to council back in July of 2017, where it was adopted. This was for the cell tower on the rock pile. It was initially approved, but we had not received any feedback from the FAA at the time, so we did not proceed with that. I did finally receive some recommendations from them, which included getting a fair market value assessment from a cell tower lease consultant. So we went through with that. Made some changes in that lease. It's currently with Verizon, and we hope to get that to you guys here soon and get some more revenue to the airport.
Super.
The PAPIs on runway 11, big thank you to Mr. Bibiano. About a year ago, he came to the council and let us know about some safety issues. He presented some findings which indicated that the runway 11 PAPI didn't provide a visual glide path that cleared the terrain on the northwest side of the airport. So at that time, we decided to shut down the PAPIs, get some more input from our engineer, and try and contact the FAA. So we recently had the FAA come by, and they actually flew the PAPIs, and they determined that what Mr. Viviano had told us was true. So they have suggested that we keep that PAPI off, so we are going to do that. We will, down the line here, probably turn back on runway 29. So thank you again, Mr. Bibiano. Our density altitude signs, those have been out for about a year now. We turned them off because they were reading incorrectly. I did finally get a letter back from the manufacturer. They no longer support the system, so sadly they are going to have to remain off. Let's see, just another update. Staff, Tori's helping me out here. We are assessing all of our leases. Just making sure everybody is up to date, there's nothing expired. We did find a few that were up to date, so we are contacting tenants to make sure we have all of our records put together and in order. Our airport gates, I know this has been a little spot of frustration for a lot of the tenants there. A lot of them have failed. As you know, they were put in quite a few years ago. So the hardware and software pieces will, have reached their end of life, so they will become unreliable. So we recently had our IT come out. We've installed new radios that go from the rock pile to each gate, so hopefully that'll help with some of our data connection issues. Of course, occasionally, sometimes the hardware on those gates will still fail on us, and we'll have to replace those, over time. Everything, but this should help, and we do have some other measures if people get locked in now that I'm sure most of the pilots are aware of. They can contact me if they're not. The AWA system, we had that go out about a month or two ago. Entire motherboard went out on us, so we did replace that, so it's back in service, working well. And then lastly, as you know, we've been working on this letter of receipt from the FAA, mostly in regards to non-aeronautical uses of the airport. So we're working on a few items there. The city owns 2 hangars, Hangar 40W and 1E. Big thank you to Public Works. They are working on getting those cleaned out. They're almost done, getting those organized just with airport items in them. They also asked that we work on a fair market value assessment of the north side of the airport where we have our reclamation area, and put together an MOU between the city and the airport and the water department. So we have hired Merriman Hurst and Associates for a fair market value assessment. So that should be starting up here soon. Once we get that completed, we will move forward with an MOU. They asked for a fair market value assessment of the billboards. We did reach out to Lamar. I'm sure the majority of you know who Lamar is. They own quite a few billboards all throughout US here. So anyhow, we reached out to them, got some pricing in Tehachapi, and so we will be updating our prices to be in line with those. That again will also help with the revenue out at the airport. The FAA also talked about our airport layout plan. It's severely out of date, so they wanted us to update that. So the hope is that we will get that updated in 2019. So that's a plan right now. We'll plan on doing a full update. So that will allow for public input, reaching out to the pilots and the community to get that done correctly. And then lastly, we have our hangar inspection program. That's something I've been working on pretty fiercely over the last week or two here. I've attached a draft to the hangar inspection program. It's going to take quite a few months to get through the draft and get working with the FAA on that. I want to use this opportunity to get it out to the pilots so they can kind of read it over, take the time, contact me, email me. I have reached out to Bob Myers, who is the president of TSP, hoping to perhaps get on their agenda for their next meeting and really reach out to the pilots and get their thoughts. And that way we can get those included and back to the FAA and kind of work with them and work our way through this letter. So there's a lot of items I haven't touched on, but I'm hoping the pilots and community will reach out. I've set up a separate email address for the airport and a separate extension, so that way my two different jobs don't kind of commingle there, and we can separate them real well. But that's it. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Any questions from the public? Yes, sir, come to the podium.
Good evening. Mike Lerner. I've been a tenant on the airport for about 2.5 decades now, and I'd like to congratulate Ashley as being the new airport manager. Sometimes we don't know whether we need congratulations or condolences in that position. I'm the vice president of a fairly new organization on the airport, the Hangar Owners Association. We're mainly interested in the properties that the tenants own on the airport, which is around $7 million worth of aircraft and hangar buildings. What we would like here tonight, and this probably includes Mr. Garrett, is we would like to have a formal meeting with the airport manager to discuss a lot of questions we have, not only on your new hangar inspection plan, but also on this letter from the FAA, the discrepancies that they found. And I think, you know, you say you're going to see the TSP, and that's fine, but we would like to have a face-to-face meeting with you also about it, because I think we have, I see some tenants here, maybe 4 or 5 of them, but I think altogether we probably have well in excess of 100 years of aviation and hangar and airport experience that you might be able to take advantage of. So if there's something, I can call you personally and we can set up something at your convenience, and would like to really talk to you about some of these things.
I did put my new information on the staff report there, so if you'd like to take that down, I'm now at extension 133.
Okay, I've seen that in your email that you sent out.
Perfect, yeah, absolutely contact me, I'd love to set something.
Can we confirm that the city manager would go along with that also?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thank you very much then.
Any other questions? Council? This is for information only. Ashley, you did a good job. Appreciate, and my condolences.
Congratulations. Very good.
Ashley is doing a tremendous job. She's been doing the job for nearly 2 years now already, along with our public works support. But we just solidified it, and she's got 100% support from staff, council, and I'm sure pilots, tenants, users, and the entire city.
Okay, let's move right along. Item number 12 was pulled off the consent agenda.
Yeah, I'm not in disagreement with item number 12, but it sort of jumped out at me as a little bit peculiar as, one, a liquor license being granted to a facility or to a business that hasn't even broken ground yet. And I realize there's some pre-planning that goes into some of this stuff, but that was the first issue, or the question that I had is, does an ABC liquor license have any kind of a time frame on it where if the retail business is inactive to a certain point, do they have to re-up for the application and be reissued the certificate? I mean, and that's just a question I don't know the answer to.
I don't know that I know the answer, since this is my item, either. I know they're specific to a location. They can, I believe, be bought and sold. So in some ways, they are almost an asset in that regard. The only other thing that I would do is if you, Matt, would like to speak to it, the gentleman who represents Walmart on this issue is here tonight, Matthew Nelson with Christian Savage.
Super. And then I actually have a follow-on to that. I'm not really accustomed, I don't spend a lot of time at Walmart, but I'm not accustomed to having for no better term, a tasting room in a Walmart. So that part of the liquor license sort of jumped out at me, and I just, I have some questions that you don't envision going to Walmart to go wine tasting. But,
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
So I'll answer your first question. Because of the timing that a license can take through ABC, we often apply about a month before we're going to break ground. I'm currently targeting to break ground in the mid to end of April. We want the license in place by the time grand opening, which will probably be February or March of next year. That's why we typically apply right before construction. And we're acquiring a license in the county from Ridgecrest. And so, yes, if we're inactive for a while, then the ABC makes us start over, we lose the license. So there's lots of consequences. So we wouldn't be moving forward unless we were absolutely certain we would have a target date. The wine tasting is actually, not surprisingly, started in our Temecula Walmart, where there's third-party vendors that come and set up a station completely according to the license, and they'll do wine tasting. It's just something to add that they want us to do in all the Walmarts because it's an opportunity just to market the wine.
Okay. Great. Then I guess the knock-on question to that sort of comes over to the chief. When we agreed to the security and the policing matter with our internal department covering the new Walmart, did we know that there was going to be actually liquor being, for no better term, served at the facility? And did we take any of that into consideration? Does that change our dynamic any on how we would police?
I don't believe it changes the dynamic at all. I was not aware of on-site tasting. I can tell you that I was not aware of that. I was aware that we were going to have off-site sales there. So I believe we're okay, and I believe the mitigation fees that Jay has incorporated into that is sufficient.
Okay. That's all I have. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I've tasted a lot of things at Albertsons, especially around the holidays. Some ladies sets up a little booth and it says that you can only come in there if you're over 21, and they pour you a little taste, and then they say, and we have all these right here you can buy. So I don't think it's unusual.
That is the Type 86 license, so it's exactly how it'd be set up.
Okay, any other questions regarding this particular issue? Do I have a motion on item number 12?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on item number 12 to grant a finding of public conveyance and or necessity for Walmart to conduct off-site sale of beer and wine, type 20 ABC license, and instructional tastings, type 86 ABC license. And the only comment I have is...
excuse me, I just noticed, type 21.
Oh, did we have a typo?
Yeah, it's a typo.
Agenda?
Yeah, and I believe your staff report started 21.
Okay, so our staff report is correct, you're saying?
Yes, at least your subject is correct, because your opening sentence, type 21, which is general liquor.
No, the recommendation is type 20, and you're saying it should be type 21?
It should be for type 21.
Well, then I apologize. You
Well, the
know,
motion
You can make an
be-
amendment.
Yeah, the motion should be
Fine.
on type 21.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, this
Fine.
isn't a public hearing or something of that full nature, yeah, so, then the requested amendment for council would be to, the staff recommendation as read on the council, staff recommends that the city council grant a finding of public convenience and or necessity for Walmart to conduct off-site sale of beer and wine should read type 21 ABC license and instructional tastings type 86 ABC license at the location in question, is that
The
accurate?
big beer, it wouldn't be beer and wine, I think it's general, because general includes
Okay.
the liquor.
All right, so is that clear to the count? Would you like me to read it again, or?
Are you
I
okay
think
with
we're
that
okay.
recommendation then? You made the recommendation? Okay, he's okay with it.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for catching that.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
And before we vote, the only thing I can say is, let's go ahead, let's go ahead and approve this because I'm waiting for that shovel to be in the ground.
Understood, Mayor.
All right. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Let the record show that it was 5 ayes. Item number 13.
All right, Honorable Mayor and council members, this is my next item for you, is the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program Parking Ride and Transit Center Public Interest Finding. So, quick reminder of which project we're speaking about. That's the CMAC Park and Ride and Transit Facility located on Tehachapi Boulevard between Mill and Holly Streets. The transit center is on either side of the streets, and the parking lot is on the north side of the street on the railroad property. Our application for the federal funds was successful, and we're at about 95% completion for the project design with Four Creeks Incorporated. The description, again, I think I talked about, it's about 100 parking spaces and then bus turnouts on either side to facilitate current regional transit and park and ride. Caltrans has many, many rules for the execution of this money, one of which is that that in a unique situation like this, where we might want to utilize the same consistent park benches, trash cans, decorative street lights, etc., bike racks that we have elsewhere in downtown, that's a situation in which we would purchase those products and then supply them to the contractor for installation as part of the construction of the project. But we want to be reimbursed for the physical expense of those items because it's part of the project and it's an eligible expense. And so in order to do that, you all need to make a public interest finding that it's in the public's best interest that we purchase these outright instead of including them in a bid. And the reason you would make a finding of that nature is that if I simply list in their trash can in the project description or the project specifications, even if I'm fairly specific about the details of said trash can, we can still get multiple styles of trash can that might slightly vary, but would meet all the performance criteria that I could write into a standard specification. So the odds are actually that we wouldn't get exactly the same thing that we have everywhere else in town. And so in our opinion, it's in the public's best interest that we have uniformity, both for the physical appearance, but also for public works to be able to stock replacement parts that are consistent so that we don't have 12 lights in one location that are slightly different than the 100 lights we have elsewhere in town. So that's my background for you, and as a result of that, my recommendation is that the City Council find that the public's best interest is served by directly furnishing decorative lights, benches, bike racks, and trash receptacles for the Park and Ride and Transit Center project. Further, that the City Council instruct city staff to complete the attached public interest finding form to secure federal reimbursement for those selected items. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Any questions from the public? Council?
Motion on staff's recommendation. Did you have a
Yeah,
question?
well, no, I just got a comment. If we're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Yeah. Okay, motion on staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second on the item as discussed. You have a comment? Go ahead before we vote.
He just did, he gave it.
Oh, did he?
He said if we're gonna do it right. That was his
Okay,
comment.
all right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carries. Let the record show 5 ayes.
Mayor, can I ask who was the second? Was it Walter?
I think he said it first.
He got it first.
We double seconded it.
Toss a coin.
We'll arm wrestle on it. Okay, next item number 14.
Very good. Honorable Mayor, council members, the next item I have for you follows upon Finance Director Chung's report on the police department parking lot. We are ready to commence the design of the project. And as you all know, you purchased the 1 acre parcel immediately adjacent to this building several months ago, and we began the process of assessing the efforts needed to construct it. So one of my duties was helping the finance department with the financing piece, and the other one was preparing a project design. So it's simple. The project is a simple automobile parking lot located at the APN number included in the staff report. The intent of the design is to remove the existing dilapidated structure and construct a new paved parking lot with basic lighting and landscaping. It's expected that the lot would be restricted to activities occurring in the Tehachapi Police Department building. So the first phase does not include a fence. I think I mentioned that when we talked, but we are going to design it specifically. In fact, so you all know, a portion of this building was designed to accommodate that property. We were unable to obtain it at the time that we did this property, and so that back portion of the parking lot could become integrated with the secured parking lot associated with the existing facility, and that was all conceived of originally when we did the project. So this allows us to take it that step forward, at least to get the pavement down and to get the parking stalls striped out so that we have enough parking and we're not clogging this street every time we have a meeting like this. So we solicited a proposal from QK Incorporated to perform the design work. The proposed agreement and scope of work is included in the staff report. Again, the fiscal impact is that the costs would be drawn from the loan proceeds. And so my recommendation is that you approve the agreement between the City of Tehachapi and QK Incorporated. That's the end of my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the audience? Council?
Yes. When are you going to do it?
When are we going to build it? Yeah, the beauty of unencumbered funds like this with no grant monies associated with it is I can move right from one phase to another. So we would need to do the design. The next early stages will be remediation of that building. If we have any lead or asbestos or something, they'll have to be handled appropriately and remediated properly before demolition. I do have to do CEQA on this, although hopefully it's going to be a relatively simple CEQA document since the property has been disturbed by man already. And then I can proceed straight into construction. So it is possible that we could do it this fall if those pieces fall in line. The only hiccup that I foresee is the demolition of the old building. You know, remediation has to be handled properly and can take a little bit of time to coordinate. So if that goes smoothly, then perhaps fall. If not, it would be spring of next year.
Be a good addition for the building and for the public. So, and remediation of an eyesore. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the item as discussed to approve the agreement between the City of Tehachapi and QK Incorporated and authorize the city manager to sign subject to city manager and city attorney approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 None opposed? Let the record show that it is 5 ayes. Item number 15.
Very good. Honorable Mayor and Council members, my next item is the Active Transportation, or ATP, Cherry Lane Southside Sidewalk Project Design Services Contract. So in May of 2016, we applied for ATP funds to construct sidewalk on the southern portion of Cherry Lane, extending from Tucker Road essentially to Elm Street. The city's application was initially not successful because the ranking of our project left us a few spots short of the available funding for our local area, right? So Kern Council of Governments receives a pot of money under ATP, and then they basically dole it out based on the quality of your application. So our initial read was that we didn't make it. SB1 came along and boosted a little extra money into this fund, and we then landed right on the deadline of getting funded or not funded, with about half the funds needed to fund the project. Through our contacts at the Kern Council of Governments, we went actually and spoke to the City of Bakersfield on the advice of the Kern Council of Government staff, who had a project that was effectively overfunded, and kind of went and begged and pleaded a little bit to see if they would be willing to allow some of it to voluntarily reduce their funding request in order to allow some of the funds to fall to us. And so a thank you publicly to the City of Bakersfield for doing that. And to the Kern Council of Government staff, and to the council board themselves, of which Phil sits on them, and we managed to get them to fund the construction stage of this project, which is estimated at $462,000. There is a design phase at $50,000 that is not funded and that we'll have to self-fund ourselves. But we kind of figure for $50,000 we get $462,000, and so that's worth it. The project description is constructed sidewalk on the south side of Cherry Lane, closing the pedestrian gaps that currently exist along this location. Specifically, the value of the project is there's a number of low-income housing on Tucker Road, on the west side of Tucker Road near Cherry. And we've observed quite a few pedestrian children in particular who utilize Cherry Lane as their avenue to Tompkins Elementary. So that was the basis of our application. There have been a few accidents along that route as well that contributed to the value of our application. At this point, because we're self-funding the design phase, which is a real bonus to me, because I get to do a lot less paperwork when we self-fund these, we're ready to hire a consultant civil engineer to do the design. We solicited a proposal from Palmetto Engineering out of Bakersfield to perform the survey and design work. Their proposal is attached to your report. We've worked on a draft professional services agreement with the city attorney, and that's also attached. And so my recommendation tonight is that you approve the agreement between the city of Tehachapi and Palmetto Engineering. I might also mention that the mid-year budget adjustment that you just approved did include the money necessary to do this design work as well. So it is effectively a budgeted expense at this point. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions from the public? Council?
Just a comment. I have to thank Jay. He sits on the Transportation
Technical Advisory.
TTACT, Technical Advisory Committee at Kern Cog. And they've got a very good group of people all over the county. Folks from the staffs, like Jay, meet together before the board of Kern Cog meets, and they get these details worked out. So they've got a little give and take, and I tell you, the city of Bakersfield and other entities have really worked together. If they're not quite ready on a project and someone else is ready, why not do it now if we can't? So thank you to Jay for expediting that, and thanks to Bakersfield for allowing us to move a little bit forward here. So thank you very much.
Any other questions? Comments? The only comment I have is it's been a long time coming. That is really a safety issue. Because I travel that road every day, and I see people pushing baby carts, carriages, right in the middle of the street. But now, if we have a sidewalk, they won't have to do that.
Is that going to be lighted?
I do not believe that we funded lighting in that project, unfortunately.
Okay.
We can work
Phase
on
two.
it.
Phase two.
Yeah.
All right.
We can work on
We'll
it.
get the concrete down.
Yeah.
All right. I'll make a motion.
But this
on
is a
staff.
first step, and I'm glad it's done. So,
I'm happy to make a motion on staff's recommendation on it.
okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second on the item as discussed, item number 15. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carries. Let the record show 5 ayes. Item number 16 was pulled off the consent agenda.
Shall I give you a report? Sure. Would that work? Okay, Honorable Mayor and council members, this item is an on-call engineering services agreement for AECOM Technical Services Incorporated. AECOM, formerly Boyle Engineering, has been working with the city of Tehachapi for a lot of years. That's where I came from the city as well. And providing a myriad of services due to a lot of the changes with funding in the last few years, particularly our Caltrans funded projects or federally funded projects can't just be given to a company like AECOM anymore. But that doesn't mean that we don't have moments in which we call upon them to help us with some drafting efforts or to help us with a grant application or to do generally small activity items. Anyway, so we've maintained for many years an on-call contract with AECOM that expired in June of 2017. And city staff feels like that arrangement continues to have value to us, and so we consulted with the city attorney on the preparation of a replacement contract. And so that's what we're proposing tonight, an on-call contract with AECOM Technical Services for engineering services work not encumbered by specific grant-related obligations. The contract will sunset after a certain number of years and is not an exclusive contract, meaning it doesn't preclude us from hiring other engineers when wanted. So on a case-by-case basis, we procure engineering services in compliance with unique funding requirements as the need arises. I would also tell you all that these are only for budgeted expenses. So I maintain in the development services budget, as you all approve, a small pot of money so that I might call an engineer literally for, I'll have to do an APE map for Caltrans. That's a little map they require as paperwork on the side, and so I call for their drafting services. Or just a few days ago, we needed an update to our annexation map that we maintain. And so a lot of times it's drafting services, or if we need a small few $1,000 study, for instance, I prepare the on-call or master services agreement. And so my recommendation is that you approve and authorize the mayor to enter the on-call agreement with AECOM Technical Services to provide engineering consulting services in support of city needs in cases determined to be appropriate by city staff. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, thanks. I feel, I've read that entire agreement, and Tom, I think it's a solid agreement. The only thing that is not apparently clear to me is that there are no collars that we have around the maximum expenditure that could be allocated on an at-will call or an urgent matter type call from J to AECOM. I feel to maintain maximum transparency to the public that we should try to put some level of collar around the maximum expenditure. And I don't know if that number is $5,000. You mentioned $5,000 for a public works project, or if it's something a little bit lower, a little bit higher. But I believe that if we could do that, it would make it, it would provide security, and it would provide transparency to the citizens should something significant come up.
Okay, are you proposing a number for each instance in which we call them, or a maximum amount of money for the total contract?
No, I think it's on a per instance basis. I mean, there could be, using your examples, Jay, you could have several, 3 or 4 calls in a week that may be over and above something that we're working on.
Sure.
You know, as long as we did not exceed a number for a given call, I feel that's more appropriate.
May I make a suggestion then, is if the council so desires, prior to the institution of the new purchasing policy that was adopted about a year ago, the Development Services Department enjoyed a small contract, a minor contract authority from the council of up to $15,000 per contract. So if you guys feel, I would say to you that, you know, I don't know that a requirement is needed, because this is only for budgeted expenses, and then every time we come to council, we have bills and disbursements in which we outline who we're about to pay money to. So we can always have a transparent conversation about when we're giving AECOM money and from what it's for. But if the council's will was that you wanted a limit, I would propose that limit. That's a limit we've used in the past because I mean, I have moments where I'll go to, you know, $10,000, you know, for a grant application or something like that. That's a budget expense. That's why we have that money in the budget. I've had a surveying contract get up to $13,000, $14,000 before that we utilized. Most of them are less than 5, but anyway, just for expediency and efficiency's sake, that's maybe the number I'd throw to you. That sounds reasonable to you.
I would think if it's already budgeted, the transparency is already there.
But that would be my opinion, but again, if the council wants a number.
I agree with that. Transparency is okay. But you come back anyway and report whatever has.
Well, with the advent of the purchasing policy, I've stopped coming back to you guys when I hire somebody, because the purchasing policy grants the city manager the authority to make purchases with no obligation under his limits, with no obligation to report.
It's a report, you come back and report expenditures. You're not coming back for approval.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, when the finance department prepares bills and claims and disbursements, most of the time they haven't been dispersed yet. That's the council tonight on item 4 that was consent. You all agreed to disperse the money that was listed in her report. So technically it's not direct report. The work has typically been done by that point. Yeah. But you're authorizing that payment. So you have that moment to see what we've done and ask us.
It's still transparent is what I'm getting at.
I would agree.
Transparency is still there. All right.
Okay. What's the pleasure of?
I'll make a motion to approve the item as presented by staff, as is.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on item number 16. to approve the agreement with ACOM Technical Services Incorporated to provide on-call engineering consulting services in support of city needs in cases to be determined to be appropriate by city staff, and authorize the mayor to sign subject to city manager and city attorney approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain.
Okay. Let the record show 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Item number 17. Well, you have a lot of items.
Yeah, sorry. I think this is my last item if I remember how we went with consent. Tonight, the last item is the Transportation Development Act, or TDA, Antelope Run Extension Design Services Contract. So, reminder on this project, in August of 2017, we applied for a TDA program fund to construct an extension of the existing Antelope Run bike path from its southern end to Highline Road. The city's application was successful and the funds for the project have been programmed. That project also includes a formal parking lot, small parking lot, at ID4, which is that little dam structure that's right there where it currently, it's southern end, so that people who do currently now park in the mud, I don't know if you guys drive, I drive that way often, and I often see cars parked there to utilize the bike path. So that funds also include that. Anyways, we're proposing to construct the bike path parallel to Tucker Road along the Antelope Run extension, or that drainage channel extension. I have, by the way, spoken to TCCWD prior to bringing this item or even moving this project forward. They're in full support of the project in granting us the necessary bicycle easements for this. It also includes that 6 to 10 stall parking lot. We solicited a proposal from Palmetto Engineering out of Bakersfield to perform the needed survey and design work. A copy of the proposal is attached. So is the draft professional services agreement also attached to the report. So we felt these were both good projects. We solicited Palmetto specifically for their skill set on this project, and because these funds are otherwise unencumbered, and so they're both affordable and appropriate for this type of project, in my opinion. And so my recommendation is that you approve the agreement between the City of Tehachapi and Palmetto Engineering for the TDA Antelope Run Extension Design Services Contract. Happy to answer any questions you all have.
Any questions from the public? No yawning. Okay, council.
I would assume that's gonna be paved, yeah?
Yes, it's about a $350,000 or $300,000 project to pave the bike path and to pave the parking lot.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Just another comment. We're seeing a lot of activity with cycling up here, and it's getting a lot of use, so it's not just I think it's a good project, and it serves the entire area, plus people that come here. They come drive here, you see them park downtown at the businesses, at Conan's and that, after they've done their rides, so I think it's a good project. And did you want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second on the item as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Let the record show 5 ayes.
Thank you.
You done?
I think I'm finished. Yes, thank you.
I think you're finished too. All right, item number 19, Police Chief.
Honorable Mayor Grimes and council members, the item I have this evening is a agreement with California Highway Patrol for reimbursement related to drug recognition evaluator training. We've got an opportunity here to get our personnel some much needed training and to receive some reimbursement for the backfill associated with that training through the California Highway Patrol. In order to receive that, we have to enter into a standard agreement with the California Highway Patrol, and they'll provide reimbursement as we send our folks to that training. You know, with the recent legalization of marijuana, this is some much needed training that we're going to have in order to prosecute those who are drug impaired drivers. So it's really a great opportunity for our staff to take advantage of this. So my recommendation would be that council approve the standard agreement between the Tehachapi Police Department and the California Highway Patrol, and adopt a resolution authorizing me to sign the standard agreement on behalf of the city, and the city attorney has already reviewed that agreement.
Okay. Any questions from the audience?
I just want to make a comment, Mayor. Law Professor Barbara Reynolds, Tehachapi resident, 45 years. I support the men in blue and anything that facilitates putting criminals in jail, I certainly support. Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
No, I think it's a great thing.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second on the item as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Let the record show it's 5 ayes. Item number 20, City Manager Report.
Thank you, Mayor Grimes. I'm going to clip through these rather quickly since we're running a little longer than I think most people realize. We had quite the agenda, and I want to thank all the staff members that are sitting up here and some in the audience for all of these amazing items. You know, we had 20-something items, and every one of them were important to the health of this city and this community, quite frankly. So if we look at my weekly memo to the council, I want to say thank you and congratulations to Ms. Pat Duty for being reelected as the chairman or the president of the Tourism Commission. The Tourism Commission is very important to the health of our city and our community. Mayor Grimes and I, we weren't in attendance at this meeting 2 weeks ago. We were up in Sacramento actually with an ACAPS meeting at cities associated with prisons, allied with prisons, and we met with several people that have an impact on what happens in our city, in our county, in our state. And I'm going to list them. We had personal meetings with the Mayor Steinberg of Sacramento. You remember him? He was once the Speaker of the House there for the state of California. Scott Kernan, the current secretary of the CDCR organization. Lori Ajax, the director of the Bureau of Cannabis Control for the state of California. Dan Craig, League of California Cities. Senator Bradford and Fuller, and Assembly members Cabrillo, Elias, Fong, and Cooper. So we were able to have a personal meeting with all of those men and women, and very honored to be representing the city of Tehachapi, and had great meetings with them. High-speed rail continues to plan the connection through Tehachapi. We're told that we're going to be the last connection, which I think is probably a good thing, because if it's built, then they'll do it right, I hope. If it's not built, then we won't have to deal with it. So lots of high-speed rail HSR in the news. So we continue to work with them on their planning efforts. Staff attended the LA Travel and Adventure Show along with the Tourism Commission. I think we've mentioned this before. Positive reaction to the city of Tehachapi and the community of Tehachapi. So thank you to everybody that's involved with that. Kern County Association of Cities, Mayor Grimes and I attend the monthly meetings, and we're getting closer and closer aligned with our sister cities and the county of Kern, looking to put together an MOU for emergency operations. I think we talked about that once before too. Want to congratulate again Council Member Phil Smith for his Lifetime Achievement Award from KernCog. Mr. Wallstrom, Mr. Grimes, and Ms. Wiggins were in attendance for that, and it was a great honor for Phil.
Thank you.
For the city. Antelope Valley Board of Trade, we're very involved with the Antelope Valley, and we attended a meeting a couple weeks ago where we represented the city of Tehachapi. And Development Council, which meets in this room once a month, we heard a report from Mary Beth Garrison on the positive impact of Rio Tinto. Borax, Boron, it's a large corporation doing many things, contributing a lot of money to the tax base, employing a lot of people, so very exciting time for them and for all of us. The EDC will actually be moving their meetings from this meeting room to the Slice of Life Enrichment Center, which is the old church on Valley Boulevard by Griffith Street. So starting next month, they're going to be relocating, simply because they're more successful than this room can handle. More people attend the meeting than this room can handle.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good problem
That's
too.
the old skating rink?
Sorry, the old skating rink. That's right.
Yeah,
It's been
I was just gonna
church
say that,
and-
yeah.
Mhm. Right. Common Interest meets in this room, and we continue to meet with the county and the other CSDs up on the hill to talk about city and county opportunities and challenges. Welcome a couple new businesses in town, DC RV Center, it's an RV repair. Delta Liquid Energy, which is a propane company, Andrew's Machine Shop, and Robbins Aviation Services on the airport. Tehachapi Unified School District and Saracosa College have jointly created a welding program, so it's really great. Corey and I were able to attend their ribbon cutting of sorts, 12 new welders, and it's a certified program. I'm very excited about bringing those talents back into the fold. The wood shop, the weld shop, the auto shop, things that we've lost over the last 10 or 20 years, and we're starting to regain those, and they're much needed.
Tell me who's teaching it.
It is
Jeremy Statt.
Jeremy Statt. He's a retired, what Marine, was he Marines or
He was
Army?
retired Marine. He's an ex, forgive me, Pittsburgh Steeler player. He was, I'm not a fan of Pittsburgh, but he's a former football player. He also, he rode his bicycle to Washington, D.C., and he came through Tehachapi, and we did a fundraiser for him. He's just a really good all-around guy. He's huge. He's big. I felt like a midget.
So he's the instructor, and we support those efforts. With
Is that going to be
Saracosa.
night classes available, or
It is
is it
an evening class.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think a lot of people.
There is a huge waiting
There's a
list
waiting list.
for the one in Mojave.
There's a waiting list here too.
Wow.
Everybody's got
12
something to
welders,
weld.
and I think they have 35 or 40 people on the team. In addition to that, we support Kern Economic Development Corporation, and we attended the Kern Economic Summit last week. Mayor Grimes, Mayor Pro Tem Wiggins, our treasurer, Susan, I think she's in the audience somewhere, was here earlier. She attended with us, and Mr. Roger Hayes of Sierra Technical Services was on a panel promoting the fact that Tehachapi Airport and the city of Tehachapi support his business, and we're very excited to have him continue to grow his business and employ people. Last year, I just wanted to point out that the city of Tehachapi received $2.8 million in grants. That's a lot of money for the city the size of Tehachapi, so very proud of our team for putting forth the effort. And then Jay and I had a meeting down at the COG last week prior to your board meeting, met with Caltrans District 9 to talk about our mobility issues, Highway 58, 202, all the different elements of streets and roads that Caltrans controls in and around the city of Tehachapi and Kern County. So it was a good meeting, and thank you, Jay, for setting that up. That's my report for this evening. Thank you.
Good report. Okay, moving right along, item number 21, 22, and 23. We'll start with you, Ken.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought I would bring it in front of the council tonight, the request to replace some of the iPads that we're using. As mundane as it may sound, I'm not sure how many folks this particular iPad has been through, but some of the functions no longer work, and I just request that the council approve tonight the purchase, acquiring for anybody that needs either a new laptop or a new iPad. We get that approved and make that available to the council members. It's a little bit hard to conduct our business when we don't even have the tools to get the information that we need. And I fight this on a regular basis, and it's a little bit frustrating. I also feel it's important that we have a matching printer to go with these particular, and I'm not really an iPad type of a user, I'm a PC person. But we can buy some very inexpensive printers. The folks in Tehachapi may not realize that after 30 days, your emails disappear off the city server. There's no way to get that off if you don't have the ability to move that information around. And we can't conduct our business like that. So I'm requesting that the council approve the purchase of a new personal computer and a portable printer for anybody on the council that needs that.
I like the idea of a larger format. I use my own computer. I can't stand as I gave it back. So, the iPads, I've never cared for them, but if they have a larger format laptop, that'd be fine. But as far as printing, we can download any emails onto the laptop, so I'm not sure we need a printer floating around. That costs a lot of money for the ink and everything over time, so I would go for the laptop but not the printer part of it. Ink gets expensive. Everybody goes and you get a little thing of ink and it's $30. It's like, is there anything in the darn thing? That could really add up to a lot of money if you're putting that some. So I'm in favor though of a improved laptop or whatever you can, if it's inexpensive.
Well, I would prefer to have a PC. And also, Mr. Smith, with all due respect, it's, you know, that the printers are being used for city business purely and exclusively. And if it costs $30 for an ink cartridge to do the people's business, then that expenditure needs to be made. And if I need a printer, I need a printer. And I appreciate the fact that we're trying to keep things tight, but that is a request of mine.
I believe that our laptops were originally given to us to cut down on staff time and paper. You know, because tonight's agenda in my iPad says 247 pages or something, so, and I understand that, and I have a laptop at home, and if there's something that this doesn't want to do, then I will call it up and do it on my laptop. I can't even think of more than 1 or 2 emails a month that I would even think about saving. So I don't know, I don't see the need for all that.
Do you need a new laptop, Dennis?
I charged it up today.
And it's dead. I think I make a motion that we would do the laptop portion of it at a reasonable price. And to give the council members the choice of iPad or
Because they're
or
about
PC.
the same. I know when I bought my iPad, it was $500 and I could get a laptop for
If
that.
it's reasonable, yeah. Or if your PC, you prefer that, give the member an option.
I'd go for that.
You go for that in a second?
Yep.
And my motion was no printer at the moment. Just download it onto your device, because we are trying to go without paper, so that's important. Okay. You got a motion and a
I
second?
have a motion and a second on the item as discussed. And what is the motion?
The motion was to have staff get a new series of laptops for the council members at a reasonable price, whether they want an iPad or a PC-based computer.
PC is a desktop.
No, not a desktop.
One's Apple.
Laptop.
Yeah.
One's Apple-based and one's a Microsoft or whatever, a PC-based operating system. So, but not a console, something that's portable. But not to include the printing, because we're trying to reduce paper. And Dennis seconded that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the item as discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Let it show 5 ayes.
I just want to ask that staff will contact us and we can say if we just want an iPad.
Absolutely.
Thank you, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 22. As we all know, there's been a tremendous amount of news coverage to the tragedy that happened in Florida. I had been asked by numerous people in our community whether or not the city of Tehachapi had a preparedness plan should something similar happen. You know, again, God forbid something like that happen, but if it did happen, that we were prepared as a city. I did not realize until, a week into my evaluation that Mr. Wallstrom had actually been approached and had been asking some of the same questions about the city of Tehachapi's preparedness when it comes to school safety. And we may or may not know, and I think maybe Mr. Schroeder or the chief can fill in some of the blanks, but we do have a contractual agreement between the Tehachapi Police Department, or the City of Tehachapi, and the Tehachapi Unified School District for providing an SRO on their campus. And my concern was whether or not we had the resources available to the department to satisfy those obligations and ensure our community has the top level of police force availability that is currently needed by or perceived to be contracted to the City of Tehachapi. And that is what drove my agenda item tonight, and I think we ought to just have a very open discussion about what we currently do as a city and as a police department. I know we provide an officer to the Unified School District. The officer, the car is at the school every morning and throughout the day. But I think it's important that we reassure our community that we have made that significant effort. And we did it prior to any of this stuff happening in Florida. We've got things in place to make sure that should something occur, we have the resources to address the problem.
Councilman Mackey.
Yep.
The item you're addressing just deals with the contract.
Yeah.
We got a closed session item tonight, I think, that deals with what you're talking about right now.
Well,
if you want to talk about the contract.
yes, the contract.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
What do you want to know about it?
Well, let's talk about it in a nice open fashion.
Yeah.
So the contract is very well known,
Yeah.
that we have a document in place
Yep.
between the City of Tehachapi and the Unified School District.
That's correct.
What's the date that we approved that?
I think it was sometime in 2016.
Okay, thank you.
That was put before council on June 5th, 2017 was the last,
Thank you.
last contract.
So
approved.
within the last 12 months?
Approved by the school board and by the
Yeah,
council.
okay,
And I bring
thank you.
that- And I bring that to you annually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is there anything you can talk about, Chief, about the contract?
As far as the contract, you know, we have a contract with the school district to provide one SRO to the Tehachapi Unified School District. Tehachapi Unified School District pays us 70% salary and benefits for the SRO during the time that they're in session, which is about 10 months out of the year. We are obligated in the event that the SRO is to call in sick or is unable to attend work, that we have to fill that spot. We have to provide backfill to ensure that we have an officer on campus. We do that regularly. We have someone that is there basically 5 days a week. She provides services to all 6 schools within the Tehachapi Unified School District and does a fantastic job. The school district is extremely pleased with the service that she's providing. High school is extremely pleased with what she's doing over there. So I think, you know, we have a slight concern, I believe Mr. Schroeder would agree, that's coming about shortly after we approved this contract with the school district. Our RMA is now requiring an indemnity clause that we provided to the school district. It's now under review with the school district, and it will be up to them to determine whether or not we can renew this contract moving forward.
Okay.
You know, there was an article in the Loop a couple of weeks ago regarding the SRO and what their duties entailed, and I thought it was a very, very informative article, and I felt very good about it because there's a lot of interaction between the SRO and the student body. A lot of interaction.
And that was our intent, to get some public information out there. And we had, I was really disappointed, you know, we had to go outside the agency. The school district wouldn't call us back, and
so anyway.
I would also add that I believe that she's a member of the state SRO organization, and they meet yearly and they provide all kinds of training and support, and we're not alone.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fantastic that our police department provides that service, albeit under contract, but you know, policing's a unique thing. And when you can relate and interact with the kids at our schools, you begin to learn and understand things that a lot of people don't. And I think it's important for our community to understand that our commitment to the school district is as high as it can possibly be to provide the service that we've contracted for, or sorry, that they've contracted for with us.
So, and I would add to that, sir, that we provide well beyond what they're contracted for on a regular basis. They're contracted for one officer, and my entire staff, time permitting, of course, mornings and afternoons during passing time are there providing traffic services. If we have any type of significant incident at the school, my regular patrol staff go to assist. They are on these campuses regularly, so we go above and beyond what we're contracted to do with that school district. So.
And not only that, Chief, you know, they also, I coach track at the high school and junior high, and I've had your officers stop by the track field and come out and just intermingle with the kids, and the kids love it, and you know, it's good communication. Good communication.
And I would add that goes to city staff as well.
Yeah.
You know, I've participated in a number of meetings with Mr. Schlosser, Mr. Montgomery, Chris Kirk when he was here. We've been working with the school district for what, Jay, probably about 18 months now on their traffic concern issues. Jay took time out of his day to develop a new traffic pattern for Tehachapi High School to try and alleviate some of the traffic concerns and public safety concerns over there. So we, as a city, are committed to the safety of those schools. And again, we go above and beyond what we're contracted to do. And you know, I'm hoping that we can work through this indemnity clause and we can continue that partnership. And it's in the school district hands.
Well, thank you, Chief. Does that beg to discuss, if we're providing more services than we are truly contractually obligated for? And I mean, I understand that, you know, it may be ancillary in nature, but it's dedicated to the school system. Should we go back to the school district and ask for additional funding for, you know, additional services? And it's a sensitive issue now. It's very sensitive. And if our department and our city is providing more to the school district, and you know, I don't know if you folks realize or not, but we've had changes at the school district recently, this last week, in the form of the superintendent. You know, so things are changing. And it may be well timed to not only look at this indemnification issue, but go back and say, you know what, we're providing more than we contractually had been obliged to, and we need to be funded and remunerated for that.
Well, as I believe council is aware, I amended this contract the last time when we brought it to the council. We were previously contracted with them where they only paid 50% salary and benefits, and because of the time that we are committing to that school, I felt it was necessary that we increase that cost. So we've done so. You know, we do have that partnership, and we receive some benefit from that as a police agency as well. So I think it's important that we provide them some type of a cost savings for that service, because the things that go on in the school do impact us out in the community as well. So it's kind of a reciprocal type relationship there. So I think it's important to give them a little bit of a break, and to ensure that our kids are safe and have a safe environment for education.
Great.
In the beginning of SROs, the state helped fund it. I wrote 2 grants for Mojave Unified that were over $600,000 for our first SRO funding for 2 years. But then the state, in their wisdom, after everybody got used to having an SRO and liked it, they don't fund it anymore. So now we have to work out agreements. But you know, that's just the way it is,
And
but.
this is generally the time of the year where I will negotiate with the school district and see where we're headed for the next school year.
Mhm.
Again, this indemnity clause is a little speed bump that we have to get over first. You know, I am inclined, based on our activity level over the past year within the school district, I am inclined to propose that they add an additional SRO to the contract if we're to continue that. And the primary reason for that is with one SRO, she's frequently pulled away for booking or transportation of somebody that's been involved in criminal activity on school campus, and then I have to pull my patrol staff to supplement that. So it makes sense to have that second officer, and for us to really, we really need a full-time on the high school campus and the other PTA building. So that's my intention moving forward, but again, we have to get through this indemnity clause piece of it first.
So I think we're more engaged, you know, with the school district as a little city than most little cities are. Because we you know, we believe in the interaction with kids, and I'm very proud of it. I really am. I can't say enough about it. So, are you satisfied with that?
I'm proud of it also, Mr. Mayor, and I think it's important that our citizens and our community realize that not only the council, but the police chief and the police department is behind making sure that the environment at our local schools is as secure as it can possibly be. So absolutely, thank you, Chief, for that. Mr. Schroeder, thanks, and Mr. Mayor, that's all I have on that issue.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 23.
Yeah. I would just like to have a little bit of discussion and clarification on a city council member's ability to talk to a staff member from the ordinance perspective. This actually comes back to the discussion regarding the security issues between our city and the schools. However, we're not going to dwell on that particular topic right now. I think it's important that we understand that if a council member needs to come and talk to a city staff member, that we have an ordinance, and it's very, very clear on inquiry. All right, Mr. Schroeder, please interject.
I think what's very clear is you're supposed to deal through the city manager.
Right.
And when you look at that ordinance, there's only 3 or 4 words that talk about inquiry. The rest is about going through the city manager.
So
let me finish.
Okay.
And I know you've got a lot you want to say, and I don't want to stop that. A lot of cities have that ordinance, almost precise wording. I think you'll find city managers, and I'll like Greg to weigh in on this, that'll say, look, I want my council members to be able to talk to, let's say, department heads, not frontline employees. A lot of city managers will tell you that, not frontline employees. But if you got a question, you can go to the department head. You don't have to necessarily go through me. This is what some city managers will say. And our ordinance says just the opposite. You've got to go through the city manager, except for inquiry, and that's a very small part of this ordinance. If you rely on that, I guess you just, you pick out Jay over there and say, Jay, I got a question, and while you're in City Hall, and ask him a question, and then you're done. So this is not a good, it's not clear. I know what you want to see. You want to be able to sit down with them and have a discussion. That's problematic, because you got the Brown Act. 54.2 says that if you're talking to a staff member, that staff member has to be very clear that whenever someone else comes in and talks to him about the same thing, he can't talk about what you talked about. Now, the issue, no comments. And the issue you kind of alluded to, and I don't want to bring it up either, was a situation where you and Dennis were going to go speak to somebody. Once you have 3 people that the staff member has mentioned he's talked to those 3 people, you got a Brown Act violation. If 2 of you go in and talk to a staff member, you're 2/3 of the way to that Brown Act violation. So all I'm saying is, I don't know what, this is a council city manager issue. They did the best they could in the ordinance. They said, look, you gotta go through the city manager, but by the way, if you have a question, okay, you can ask the question. But, maybe it needs some work. Maybe it needs to be elaborated on. I know a lot of cities have elaborated on it and been clearer about what they want the council members to be able to do without going through the city manager. And so there's no legal opinion on that, other than what I'm telling you, that I think it's a very small niche that you're allowed to, under this ordinance, to go in and ask somebody about.
But that small niche
Yes.
allows me to do it.
But we don't know what.
Well, and see, Mr. Schroeder, that's where, if a city council member wants to sit down with a staff member and have a factual discussion about a topic, and, if the citizens knew that we were being prohibited from talking to staff members about how, and I fully appreciate the Brown Act. I've read the thing cover to cover.
You haven't? Have you read that section?
I sure have. Actually, you sent me the section, so.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That's right. That's right. I hope you understood that.
I sure did. Talking about serial meetings and some of the other things. But I can't control.
Not even mention to Dennis that he's talked to you.
I can't control what a follow-on conversation entails, nor if there's going to be somebody behind me coming and having a discussion similar to what I had.
Yes, it can be controlled by a properly worded ordinance.
Well,
to lay out the boundary.
It begs for some clarification,
Yes.
because what we have gotten, excuse me, Ms. Wiggins, can I continue?
I'm just said when
Okay.
you were finished,
Okay, well,
I would like to make a comment. Go
okay,
ahead.
all right, thank you. I just think that, I don't need the city manager in a conversation talking about engineering the fix on potholes. I mean, there are certain things that the city manager needs to be involved in, but just purely a factual discussion. Why take his time for me to sit down with somebody to have a discussion? It just creates some concern. And the concern is the council, in my case, is not getting the information that I need to do my job for these people in this audience. And when I sense that happening, well, you see where that goes. It goes to something on the agenda.
I'd just like to comment on that just one little bit here. The problem with a council member going to an employee without going through the city manager, you have the concept of intimidation. And if you go to that employee, this is where you can get in trouble. Because that employee says, Ken came and saw me and I was just intimidated and I said things I shouldn't have said, and he's making me nervous and he's creating a hostile work environment for me.
And
now, how do you handle that?
Well, and Mr. Mayor,
this is the thing that you are protected with.
Yeah, that same exact scenario could play out if the city manager is sitting in the meeting with me and the employee.
Not necessarily.
So, I mean, the senior staff member is intimidated. He won't tell me or indicate to me what the facts are because the city manager is sitting there. So, I mean, that works both ways on that.
Well,
I
I've been
have
involved.
no concern with sitting with the city manager. I do have a concern with sitting with you, sir.
Well, there you
as
go.
a staff member. Why is there a problem having a conversation in an open council meeting?
Not at all. There's no problem whatsoever.
You just spoke as if that's a problem to bring this issue here.
I think everything should be in front of the public, so that I'm not going in and talking to Hannah or any of the staff member, and I'm getting a different set of information. And Dennis, you want to go talk to someone. I think the public should hear all conversations out in the open right here. And you can get the same facts here as you can one-on-one. So I think it's a slippery slope to go any different than what we're doing.
I think
right now.
that's, I think
This
that's
is,
the
this is
exact
the
point.
transparency that the public wants, that we're always talking about.
I-
So the transparency should be contained and maintained here.
And I'd like to add, if you check with the Mojave Spaceport, you better go talk to their CEO if you want to talk to a staff member. If you go to any school district, probably in all of Kern County, schools legal service will tell you that you need to talk to the superintendent, and he will either answer your question or get it from somebody and give it to you. We are not unique here whatsoever.
Yeah, I just feel that one word, I mean, it's, if it says purpose of inquiry, I will use that when I feel it's appropriate. And the ordinance provides me to do that. And I realize that I have to make it very, very, I have to assure myself that I have not violated the Brown Act. And,
Well, you probably won't violate the Brown Act, the employee might. Or if you had two of you in there, then you're 2/3 of the way to violating it, and then it just takes one more to sit down with that employee, and he spills the beans, oh yeah, well, I talked to Councilmember Hetke about this, boom, you got a Brown Act violation. So it wouldn't be you necessarily, or Dennis, or somebody else.
I understand.
It's the third person.
But those what-if scenarios, that's why there's so much skepticism in our society today, is because we cannot get answers. The people can no longer get answers to issues that pertain to them. And when they come to a council member, because they can't get it from anybody else, and we need to go that extra step for the citizens in our community to try to answer a question. And then, you know, the what-ifs come up. It doesn't say a lot for us. It really doesn't.
Well, but
I'd like to comment on that. That question you got for the staff member should be asked in front of the audience.
No.
The staff member's here, ask the question right here.
No.
Ask the question, yes. Absolutely. Why should it be done in private? I think it should be done transparently in front of all of the audience.
But you have
You
rules.
can disagree all you want,
have
but that's
rules
just,
and regulations
we're gonna always
that you have to abide by because you have employee unions. And you know,
That's right.
And you have contracts and you have MOUs and you know, there are just so many things. And I just want to caution you, Ken, that you're putting yourself on a slippery slope. If you violate those kinds of issues, and you know, I've dealt with these things for a number of years because I've been in public service for, gosh, 40 years. And you know, I don't go there. I don't go there on a personnel kind of issue unless I have permission from the city manager or from the school superintendent or whatever, because you're going to put yourself in jeopardy. And you know, we're not going to be there to help you.
Wouldn't expect you to be.
I'm just warning you.
Then do it
Be
in
careful.
public.
Well, be careful.
This discussion needed to be had. It was had, and I think we can move on now.
Well,
Okay.
I'm glad it was had, Ken, I appreciate you bringing it
Yeah.
up, and it was done in public, so the entire audience and
Absolutely.
it should be done in public.
It sure should
And
be.
every question I think that's asked, that I ask of anybody, I'm rarely down there. I go to Greg if I want the answer. If I'm not happy with Greg's answer, I'm gonna bring it before the entire council, just like you're doing. And I think it's a good forum to do it, Ken, I really do.
I totally agree with you.
Okay.
I think it's cleaner
And I
that
don't-
way
I don't-
and
I
it's
don't-
safer.
I don't object to you bringing it up in this form at all. This is where it should be.
Absolutely.
All right, I agree with you.
Okay,
All
at this time, I'm going to, we're going to close this session of the meeting, and we're going to go into closed session.